Hello.
Hello, and welcome. This is session 0 of Hex Breakers, a Kids on Broom actual play. Right off the bat, you're going to notice that we are all in different places and we're playing remotely. Oh no! We aren't actually going to play the game remotely. For session 0, we had a few health problems. We had a little bit of a COVID exposure. So just to be safe, we're doing session 0 remotely. But we will start next week here, Wednesday at 7 p.m., actually playing in person, which I'm very excited about. Yay! Hey!
Kimmy says we're all in different locations, but actually everybody's in my house. They're just in different rooms.
Yeah.
It's very fun. We're having a great time.
Yeah. We thought
I lucked out on the VO booth, so I have the fancy one.
I'm in the garage.
Yes.
It's weird as Emily wouldn't let us interact with each other even when we arrived.
Yeah,
we all got moved to our separate locations immediately.
I made you all. I had my cats lead you to different spaces. I don't actually know where you all are. I just know you're in my house somewhere. I live in an enormous mansion.
Really gets us in the spirit of this game.
Yeah.
Yes. I am Emily St. James. I'm not just talking over everyone. I'm ostensibly in charge of this show, but I'm very excited. I'm here to be your GM for the next several weeks. We'll be playing weekly, except for the week when I have to be gone. But we'll be playing weekly otherwise, and health permitting, all of that permitting. The game is called Kids on Brooms. It is a spinoff of Kids on Bikes that is about kids attending a magic school that might remind you of a certain book series whose name will not be mentioned on this stream at any time. Actually, if you all screw up, it's fine. But I am never going to say the words of that book series. And it's not left.
What do you have against Neil Gaiman's books of magic? It's a great book series.
Listen, I love Ursula Le Guin's Earthseas, like in that world, right?
Yeah.
Vaguely, there's all these magic school books, so we love most of them. So
I thought we were playing Game of Thrones.
We are. Listen. Today's the day when we decide what kind of magic school we attend. If you want to attend a magic school where a character is randomly killed every session, we can do that.
Yeah.
Kids on Thrones. That's the next.
Kids on Thrones.
That's the next project.
The goal of the game is to have magical, fun adventures. We are going to be playing tonight, coming up with characters, coming up with setting, all of that. I have a fair amount of setting in my brain already, but we will sort of warp everything to fit. So why don't we have everybody introduce themselves first? And I'm just going to go left to right on my Zoom screen. We're going to start with Kimmy.
Hello, my name is Kimmy, she, her. I don't know who I'm playing yet. I have a few ideas, but I'm very excited to play this game. And next person.
Riley.
Hey everybody, I'm Riley Silverman. I'm a relative newcomer to the channel. I've only done a one-shot and the advice show on Fridays. This is my first actual campaign with Happy Jacks, but I've been Happy Jacks adjacent for a pretty long time over our friend channel Saving Throw and things like that. So done a lot of RPGs, and I know exactly what I'm playing, but I'll see. Are we talking? We'll wait till we get into character stuff before I talk about that. But I had a pretty strong idea come to me pretty quickly. So
yes. Adam.
Halito, everyone. My name is Adam, and I am very excited to be here. And this is my triumphant return to Happy Jacks. I have not been on a Happy Jacks actual play in over 2 years since right as COVID was starting. And in true Adam fashion, I am 2 years late to the trend, and I got COVID, so that's why we're not all together tonight. Anyway, I don't care.
In your defense, 3 of us have had COVID in the last month, so it's not just you. It was
had it earlier
domino.
This year. I think.
Right. Yeah. So, but yes, I am happy to be back here, and I'm really excited to play this game because she should not be named, and we have way more fun things to do than talk about her. So, sorry.
Adam, was the last Happy Jacks game you played that Masks game? that I was also in?
I was trying to think of this yesterday, but I think actually it was the Shadowrun game. I
Oh,
think
okay.
Jason's Shadowrun game happened after Eidolon Academy,
Okay.
but I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
I heard
or
Eidolon Academy was really good. I heard it was run by some amazing GM.
it
It was
truly was. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That was me.
yeah.
That was me.
It won like 6 Emmy awards. You should go check it
It
out.
did. It
Uh,
did. And four
And a
Tonys.
Tony, weirdly. Yeah.
Four Tonys. Four Tonys.
Yeah.
We got one for best lighting.
Yeah.
And it got nominated for an Oscar, right? It was almost
Yes.
that triple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We almost
Right.
got it.
You got it, yeah.
Almost.
The
Jay.
Grammys are what threw us off, right? I wasn't
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We were snubbed at the Grammys again. Yeah.
Jay, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jay Africa, he, him. And I also have a pretty good idea of some aspect of my character, but I'll wait until character creation and world building until I flesh out all those other details. But I am very much looking forward to playing with all of you lovely folks. So thank you for bringing me on board this. Thank you for bringing me on board this AP.
I will of course be playing all of the other characters. I'm almost certainly going to insert a character named Emily, who is the most charismatic woman to have ever lived, and we'll have fun with that. So
That's legit.
yeah.
Right?
So just to sort of talk through Kids on Brooms, what we're going to be doing tonight is creating characters. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the safety tools. We will probably handle some of them off mic because nobody wants to hear us talk about our particular business. But yeah, so we're going to be creating characters. We're going to be talking a little bit about the setting and sort of exchanging questions and things like that. Yeah, we might play a little bit of a game called I think it's pronounced Dekuma, but we may play a little of that just if as time allows. But the thing about Kids on Brooms is, like Kids on Bikes, it asks you to sort of play within a specific archetype, and then it offers you a bunch of different archetypes, which I really should have turned to the page for already, but I did not.
82.
So like I'm gonna read you some of these here. Here we go. We have the aloof teacher, bullheaded muscle, charismatic slacker, etc. Kids on Bikes allows you to play in 3 different age groups, sort of the younger kids, the older teens, and then faculty. We kind of talked about this in the Slack, sort of, that we thought we might want to not have this be a game with faculty in it. But if some of you come up with a character who just seems like the world's greatest, like I don't know, English teacher, fine, we'll work with it. But if y'all want to sort of start thinking about your characters in terms of those tropes, that's kind of how I recommend doing it, even though the character creation sheet kind of has like, come up with a name first. But yeah, so start thinking about tropes that you might be interested in. And my favorite part of listening to any Session Zero podcast is the long period of silence when people are filling out their character sheets. So here's what I would love for you all to do is pick an archetype and start filling out some of the information. If you have questions, you can certainly ask me, and I'm just going to monologue. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have a good time.
Let's talk real quick. I know we haven't done like world building, but what's kind of the tone that we're going for? We're going for like mysterious, like young adults, or like.
I think, the tone that I'm aiming for is something that is pretty mysterious and has lighthearted elements, but is also open to things that are very much happen in the real world. That has some of the darker elements. Like, this is not going to be a game where we're routinely having grim dark elements. It's not going to go that far.
Okay.
But it is going to be open to inherent to the setting of the world, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is a certain degree of structural transphobia. So that's fun for everyone. But yeah, I do want us to bear in mind that this is a little bit more serious than like middle grade, but still not all the way to like full on George R.R. Martin. I think I think a good reference point is if you've seen the TV show of the Magicians, that's
Okay.
kind of a good
Ooh, that's
zone
pretty.
to
That gets
aim
pretty
for.
heavy into grimdark. So
Yeah.
that's good to know.
It does
Okay.
in later seasons, but like
Say that-
season one is they're singing Taylor Swift. It's a great time. I'm going to be singing Taylor Swift and the Happy Jacks.
Do you remember what
RPG.
happens to Julia in season 1? You
I
might-
do. Like it's here's the thing. I've read the book so many times, and in the book, it's like so much worse. And in
Okay,
the show, I'm
fair.
like, okay, all right.
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, good
Okay.
to know. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So I was gonna say, yeah, it's pretty dark.
So what we're doing is
Yeah.
with the tone we're aiming for is specifically the first 2 episodes of the Magicians TV series when they hadn't quite figured out what they were doing. But yeah, so yeah, I obviously we don't want it to go full on super dark, but I do want there to be room for it to be a little bit serious.
Okay.
But we also should have fun. We're gonna have monsters and talking
Yeah.
cats and stuff. So
What
Well,
age do you think we're looking at? Do you think for characters?
you know what, it does not matter to me. I think probably a mix of young and teen is fine. Again, if there's faculty, then we'll kind of have to come up with a story reason for that, but I think we were all kind of like, maybe we want to do teens and kids. I do think if we end up with a mix of teens and kids, there will be, I'll probably try to work in some mentory type things, the idea that like this child is your responsibility for some reason. So yeah, it's I want to leave a lot of this up to you, but I'm happy to answer questions for you about what I have in my brain, because I always have like 70 things going on in here. So
Just
Is this like an all ages school, or is it a specific range of ages?
I think that it is. I think that we should think of it as being very similar to a boarding school experience, because the students go here, and boarding schools traditionally start around like age 11, 12. And unless one of you like desperately wants to play an 8-year-old or something, I think, let's say that like 13 is kind of 7th, 8th grade is kind of when people start attending this school. And they come from all over the world. The school is situated in Northern California, and I will talk more about the specific setting that I have in mind. But if that gets your creative engines running in any way, it's set in the Pacific Northwest broadly.
Yeah, I would much prefer, just for my own comfort level, like that we play like 13 and up is good, but like if I'd prefer that we not go younger than that, because I still get super stressed out about kids in danger.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm the same way, kind of. I think like I need a teen in the number to feel like it's okay to have some
Sure.
A little
real
bit of
peril
danger,
happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. And also, like, if there were kids, then the content would have to shift accordingly. That's fine. But I agree. 13 and up is good. And, also, if you're all like 17-year-olds, then there's going to be so much like weird tension between all of you. And
I
that's
know.
so,
That's kind of why I was asking about age. I wasn't asking so much about like adults versus kids. I was asking like what era of childhood to teenhood are we all thinking we want to be playing, and that
Yeah.
and I do think there is kind of a divide between early teen and late teen, but it's not as wide as like teen and kids. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking around 15, but I don't know how the rest of y'all are feeling. So like I'm pretty malleable. I'm just gonna adjust my backstory a little bit depending on how old we are.
Yeah, I can kind of go around in that same range as well. Like 15 is perfectly fine for what I've thought of so far. I have some ideas, but they can kind of fit in at any age range. But yeah, and so, but I think being a little bit older, as in like, not quite like not the 12 and under crowd, I think is more where my ideas will fit better. But yeah, 13, 14, 15, anywhere in there, I think is totally fine. So.
Yeah. Okay. I think a better way to sort of answer the question about mood or setting or whatever is I think I'm going to aim for PG-14, like just like one notch beyond PG-13, but nowhere near R. And
Right.
As just to speak about my own preferences, I have a pretty hard line against like graphic violence, sexual assault, that sort of thing happening in game. We'll talk more about other stuff for Lines of Veils off mic, because again, I think that's no fun for people to have to listen to, but that's just letting you all know, if you're listening, that's going to be the case going forward. There's not going to be any of that stuff. And also, if there are kitties, they get to live. That's just
Yes.
a rule. The cats all live.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
I know
Not
that-
I
okay.
think we're all on the same page there. I think that's a good mix of things. I think that my one
Totally.
concern about the magician's statement just got like assuaged very well, so I feel good about
Oh
that.
yeah. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I
And
love
we-
that show.
Yeah.
I do
but
too. But yeah.
I do.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a show that I can argue with somebody if I recommend it and they go, "Yeah, not for me." I go, "Fair, very fair.
Fair,
I understand
yes.
your issue. You're fine."
Yeah.
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 Kimmy, what's up?
I was just gonna say, just for people who are joining us, we've also been like chatting for a couple weeks about this game, like leading up to it. So, like, we kind of have figured out like each other's comfort levels and stuff like that. We are definitely, like you said, going to do lines and veils, but this isn't the first time we're all talking about this stuff. So,
Yeah.
I do know that some of us already have kind of the tropes that they want to kind of pick. So if you've already picked one, go now because that way I can go last because I haven't picked mine yet.
What? Kimmy's gonna go last because she hasn't picked her concept yet.
Don't be like so
Good.
calling me out and the
Yeah.
thing that's very true and always happens every single game.
I'm sorry. Did you like even like go past the bullheaded muscle trope?
I did. I feel so called out right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. You told me not to call
Not to
you
call
out.
me
I meant
out.
to call you out. Oh.
Yeah, you were muted earlier when you said not, and then
Oh.
you turned it off the mute, and then
Yeah,
you said
yeah.
call me out.
Immediately? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're clipping yourself, Kimmy.
You were like do, and then you muted, and then you unmuted and said call me out, and it was very confusing for all of us.
Got it.
This is awesome. I could totally rip on Kimmy and then blame it on audio issues. I love it.
Only until
Oh,
next
Kimmy.
week when we're back in person and then I can throw things
Right?
at you.
I love that. So, yeah, Riley, you said you had a pretty clear concept, right?
I do, but I feel like Emily keeps trying to say something, so I want to let her.
Oh.
No, I literally was just saying, yeah, let's start by those of you who kind of have something figured out. Just to give us a very bare bones introduction. Kids on Brooms has a very like weird system for building character in my mind. So we're going to start with very bare bones, and then we're going to kind of fill stuff in as we go tonight. So, yeah, Riley, it does sound like you're excited to go.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if I'm excited to go. I'm not like I want to be first. I think I have a pretty clear idea of what I want to do. So, I'm playing the haughty descendant, which could be spelled either way as far as I'm concerned. But the idea that I have so far, it's pretty basic. I don't want to get too deep until we start getting into world building stuff. But her name is Daphne Morgaine, and she is basically from a very, very old, very like established wizarding family in this world, or mage family. I'm not sure what term we're using yet. But so she and her family have been previously legacies at a different school, and she's the first member of her family to be coming to this school for reasons we'll get into as we discuss things. So she's kind of a legacy breaker, and that is where I have of her right now. And then I don't know if we're going to get too much into that right now, but that's so haughty descendant. I'm very much playing the kind of like maybe a little bit classist, maybe a little bit like trying to like still figuring out how to deal with like people who are like of different social standings in the magic world, and also a bit of like a problem in her own family because she's like really breaking this like long-standing tradition. So
Just to fill in a little bit of world building on my part, in the world of this game, there is a school called the British School. That is all anyone ever calls it. That is the world's most famous magic school, but it's also not trans inclusive. So that's a metaphor. I don't know if anybody will understand what it is for, but does anyone else have a character they're sort of circling?
Yeah.
Go
Adam,
ahead.
you know what? Adam, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I usually put myself last, so I will accept that offer to go first. Thank you. Okay. So I'm thinking probably the firstborn caster, although there's a couple of other tropes that I could kind of fit into. But I am thinking that and I do have a name, which is it's Tanager Folsom, and Tanager is a gender fluid two-spirit from California. There's a big Choctaw a big Choctaw presence around Bakersfield, which is where some of my mom's family is from, and I'm Choctaw, so I'm going to dig into that because as long as I'm digging into gender, I want to like also dig into the rest of my heritage. So that's the thing I'm doing, and I really want to do that because I trust all of you. So. Uh, anyway, so essentially, she is kind of an oddball. Gender fluid pronouns, they, she, him, whatever, and so they're kind of an oddball and are experiencing magic for the first time in a world that does not generally deal with magic in this way. Her family and community are used to the magical world around them. They're completely aware of it, but not but they don't experience magic this kind of like being able to directly manipulate it the way the European way. And she is the first or possibly the first person in her community to develop these abilities to uh, to also participate in the European tradition. So,
Um, I can you just remind me of the firstborn
mhm.
caster trope? Just remind the audience of the
Oh yeah,
firstborn caster trope. I guess I'm saying.
yeah. So this was I mean at the at the British school, it would probably be closest connected to, a name that might rhymes with Schminorany
Shminorny.
Franger. Yeah. Um, so, but no. But basically, the idea is this is somebody who is from a non-magical family, somebody who has magical abilities, who is not from the world where that's common, and they're in addition to the character trying to learn about and navigate this newfound magical world in whatever way they're going to deal with it, their family also has to learn that.
Cool.
Uh,
I'm gonna loop back and let Riley fill in a bit because I feel like we
Yeah.
are sort of just. And that's fine. I'm glad we're doing that. But I
There's
want to ask. Yes, go ahead.
so there's one really important from for Adam that everyone's dying to know. The abs.
We're
How many abs
going
does your character have?
we're going with the standard 6. I need to keep this grounded in reality.
Okay. Since it's
Yeah.
like 13 years old. Okay.
Yes,
There's room
right,
for like
exactly.
magical ab
Yes.
augmentation later. So
Right,
I
exactly,
need to
yeah.
keep this grounded in reality. They said
Reality.
sitting in front of an image of flying books.
Sorry, Riley. That's a
fine.
callback to Adam
Yeah.
tends to describe his characters with a large number of
Yes.
abs. Some that are
I don't know if you know how explicable it already was. The question pretty much explained the premise.
okay.
I don't know if
Just
I needed.
checking.
I don't know if I needed it explained to me. It was pretty clear in the bit.
Just check.
Yeah.
Adam, I do want to ask you
Yes.
what was Tanager's exposure to sort of the European tradition, and why did she spark to it, even if it was begrudgingly?
I'm wondering actually. I'm thinking maybe she has family that lives near this school,
Mhm.
and so and normally most people around who are not part of the school, if this works out, if everybody's cool with this bit in the world, but normally people around the school kind of are veiled from the non-magical world, uh, don't really necessarily see the magical things that are going on around them. If that's okay in the world that we're building, but Tanager can, and so they're able to. Uh, they were able to see some of this and started just kind of maybe saw some magic user in the woods, outside the school practicing and started mimicking it, and turned out was able to start to do the same. So
Riley, Jay, I'll get to you in a second here, but Riley, I want to circle back and let you introduce your character to a greater degree.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Daphne is she her. She's a trans girl, and the idea that I had was that, and this is why the age will matter to me a little bit as we move forward. But the idea that I had with her is that her family has always attended the British school since it was founded. Like they are a long legacy to the school. But because she is trans, I think that I originally was going to have, when I thought we were playing a little bit younger, I was going to have it be that like she could not go to that school. But I think that actually, based on if I have her around 14 or 15, I think she actually did attend that school for like at least a year or two. But I think as attitude shifted and there was a little more of a close down on things, I think that like I think maybe her family's status allowed her a little bit of leeway to be able to go there, but it kind of came to a point where at least before whatever the current term that we're in, if either this year or the previous year, she basically was given an ultimatum of like, if you come back to this school, you have to attend as a boy, and you have to be in. You can only play sports as a boy. You can only live in the boys' dorms and things like that. We don't care who your family is and stuff like that. And so she was really kind of given this choice of, do I stick to my family's legacy or do I just want to study magic as myself? And I think she made the choice of, I want to study magic as myself. And so that's where she is right now. So the haughty descendant is like the person of like a very like established family. I think it's pretty self-explanatory trope, but that was the idea that I had. And my big inspiration for this character was that one of my favorite characters in another story is a character that was played by the actor Tom Felton. And I'm always really fascinated by characters who maybe start out or even maintain somewhat of an antagonistic point of view to begin with, but there's a lot going on there where there's like there's a little bit of trauma in their life and there's a little bit of things that have made them as they are. And I thought, what if you took that same character and you made her trans, and then she could not go to the school that was like her family's birthright? And so like, how does that, if you make that change to that character early on in her story, like it's a completely different arc for that character, I think. And so I'm really curious to play that out and see where it goes. And that's why I got really excited about it.
For some reason, I have a lot of questions about the mechanics of transition in the magic world.
Well, guess what? You're in charge of that, so you can just tell me how it works.
I'm curious. So I'm curious to know when Daphne came out and the level of acceptance that her parents gave her.
I think that her family. I think so. I'm just gonna say she's 15. Let's just make it 15, and that's it. I think she dallied in it a little bit because that's what I did. Like I lived as very gender fluid for a long time, obviously way later in my life because I'm a lot older than Daphne is, and I didn't live in a world where there was even as much of a conversation about it as there is now. So I think I came out as some form of trans at 27, but didn't start transitioning until I was 33. I think from a young age, she was always like dabbling in somewhat gender fluid play and stuff like that. And then as she got older, I think she maybe came out around 13 or 14, and like, so I think, yeah, about a year or two ago, and started transitioning. I actually think that her family, I think there's a divide depending on who in your family you talk to. I think her immediate family, I think her mothers are both like very positive about it, which I just decided that about her. I think her mothers are very positive about it. I think because, so I had the idea that I had was that the Morgaine family claims to be descended from Morgan Le Fay, and like that's like the ancient lineage they're coming from. I think because they're from a very powerful witch, I think they're a very matriarchal line, and I think that they so depending on who you talk to in the family, I think that they recognize like this feminine spirit in a witch, and they're like, let's support this. Like, this is like your identity. You're like, we're descendant of someone who very much claimed her own power in a time that was like very patriarchal. So let's like support this. But I think there are other members of the family who maybe are more established in like the society elements of the world who are not as okay with it, and they're actually like really angry that one of their family is not attending the British school anymore. Like they're like, this is what our family does and you're not doing it. So I think like she probably has some uncles and maybe it's even some aunts who are a little more like prejudiced against her and have actually given her discrimination. But I think her actual mothers, like I think what happened was her family has enough money that for at least a couple of years they were able to like make donations enough to the British school to like keep her in good graces. And then I think that like that level of privilege finally ran out, where it was like, look, you can spend all the money you want. We're not letting her go to school here as a girl. Like if she goes to school here, she's going as a boy. So I think that she finally hit her own breaking point with it.
Even after they named the library the Daphne Morgaine Library.
Yeah.
This is a question for the table. It's not just a question for Riley. Shape-shifting is possible in Magic World. You can take someone else's form. Why is magical gender transition? That's a really bad way to put that, but I'm a trans lady. I get to say whatever I want.
Yeah.
Why is it impossible? Why is it not possible to permanently take a new form as a magician?
Can I offer a thought?
Sure.
What if it's the refusal? And this might dilute it, but I'll just throw it out there. What if it's the refusal to do it as a magical transformation? That is the controversy. Does that make sense? If
It
there's
does.
a magical option, but to not choose to rectify it in their eyes, through magic. I don't know. It's a thought that I had, but I don't know if that makes it less about well.
What if it's
Yeah, I don't know.
it's something that just what if it's something that they just haven't figured out how to do yet? Like they've found like temporary transformations and things like that, but nobody has yet discovered the correct potion or spell or whatever that will make the transformation permanent.
Yeah, I kind of like that. And I think maybe transmogrification spells perhaps are very painful. So I think maybe it's a lot of pain to go through every day. If because I was thinking if you could cast a spell where you could just shapeshift every day, why wouldn't you just every morning wake up? It's like putting on makeup. But maybe it's a really painful, powerful spell you have to do.
Yeah, there's a high cost to it. Now, would that be for transmogrification for anything? Like if we were changing to animals or changing to inanimate objects as well?
That's a good point. Maybe I don't want to limit us so we can't do.
Well, no.
I
don't know. I mean, I think what we come up with just might not apply to other forms of life or other objects and such. There's just something intrinsic about the true self that.
Yeah, I think even just like Kimmy's idea about it being just not a very permanent spell, and maybe it doesn't even last all day. Like maybe it's something like you don't. It's like the amount of consumables needed to keep doing the spell just wouldn't be tenable.
Yeah, I think one thing that I like about the system is it has a thing about duration. The longer a spell lasts, the harder it is to cast. And therefore, if you were going to transform yourself into someone else for the rest of your life, if I was going to transform myself to look like the popular singer-songwriter Taylor Swift for the rest of my life, that would be extremely costly and take away, it would be very costly on myself, costly on my, psychological state. So yes, I think if you're going to turn into a cat for a day, that is going to have a cost and you're going to need to recover from it. But it's very different from saying I'm going to be a cat for the rest of time. That would be really difficult and hard and virtually impossible. So I think I'm leaning on the side of, in theory it could be done, but the cost is so great that doing it is just terrifying and horrible.
I also have a kind of maybe building off of what Adam was saying earlier. I think that this is a little bit cyclical, but bear with me. What if it's sort of a thing where, so in the Mighty Thor comics with Jane Foster, a big part of the storyline is that she has cancer, and the Thor, when she turns into Thor, it knocks out all of her chemotherapy, but leaves the cancer. And the reason why is because Mjolnir recognizes the cancer as part of part of her physical form, right? So I think that with being trans, I think that magically, if you are a trans woman and you try to cast a spell that has turned me into a woman, from a magical point of view, it's you're already a woman.
Sure.
You don't need to physically be transformed. You're talking about a physical change, but you already are the thing you're trying to turn into, and maybe that's where magic can't quite figure out what you're asking it to do because it already recognizes your own identity as valid.
Right. And go ahead, Adam.
Oh, and this is not trying. I don't want to center myself in this conversation, but I do feel like that's a really beautiful recognition of what it is to be trans, or what it is to be not the gender, not cis, and I do not identify as trans. I do identify as non-binary, but it does. I like that as a statement of acceptance that the magical world is telling you you already are whatever you feel you are. That's your identity, and 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 so the idea of trying to change that is always going to revert back, but not because it's not because one is not because your sex assigned at birth matches or should or not because your gender identity should match your sex assigned at birth, but because your sex assigned at birth is irrelevant to your
Yeah.
gender identity,
Yeah.
right?
Magic. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a way of saying like, no, this is sort of the natural state, but it's an accepting understanding of the natural state rather than a natural state sounds problematic, so I withdraw that word. But yeah, but I think you know what I mean.
I think it's
Hopefully.
yeah. I
Makes
think
sense.
it's a really beautiful idea, Riley. I really like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a comic that goes around trans circles every so often that's like someone asking a genie turn me into a girl, and the genie's like, you already are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very shorter version of what I was trying to describe. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like that's
I
why
like
the
that.
magical spell for transitioning for physical for like essentially magical HRT is not the same thing as like socially or mentally transitioning, and so like that's the
Yeah.
spell's like, yeah, I can make these like magic is like we can make these physical changes, but that's not permanent because there's the cost to magic and things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um,
I
okay.
like that.
Yeah. I'm glad we figured that out. Jay,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your character.
Okay, so I am playing the withdrawn bookworm, a 13-year-old. I wanted to choose someone because they are not in their element. My character is named Dante Cecilio Aguilar Suliman, and I'm going to put that in the chat. So write that down if you need it. He is a Filipino American from Orange County, California, and his family, he, him, his pronouns, and his family is actually in tech, and so they are pretty far from the magical world. But during a visit to the Philippines, he had a supernatural encounter by what's called a balete tree. They're trees that are indigenous to the Philippines, and they have a lot of folklore tied to them. And this supernatural encounter took him out. He was rushed back to the United States for medical care. And shortly after, he started exhibiting just these magical abilities that his family was incredibly shocked by. Not really knowing what to do with him, after this, they decided to send him to magic school. And so at 13 years old, he is leaving home for the first time in his entire life, and hoping for the best.
How did your family know about this magic school?
I'm going to say they're pretty wealthy, and so they do have some connections. And it's not necessarily that they're against magic. They just don't. I mean, one, they don't follow that world. They don't. They don't necessarily pay any attention to that world. And in fact, until that supernatural experience, they didn't really know much about that world at all. But I'm going to say that they, let's see, a family friend of theirs who has sent a student to another magic school mentioned it to them, and with a little bit of digging, a little bit of research, they were able to learn more about this school in the Pacific Northwest.
What is the thing in your family history, in your family tree, the story everyone tells that makes you think maybe you are not the first person in your family to have magical abilities, even if it's not acknowledged that, this other person was also magic?
Ooh, okay. I'm going to say that a long time ago, during the Spanish colonial period of the Filipino history, um, uh, Dante had like a great aunt who fell in love with a I'm gonna say one of the Spanish occupiers. They were not allowed to be together for cultural prejudice issues. But one day or one night rather, um, when his great great ancestor tried to run away with the Spaniard, um, there was a flash of light, and all of a sudden both of them disappeared. And in the place where they stood, there was let's see, what's a good one? In the place where they stood, I'm going to say there appeared a couple of pieces of petrified wood intertwined. And nobody knows like what happened exactly, how that happened, why it happened. But this piece of petrified wood became a family heirloom that has been in their household for a long, long time. And that is the legend around it. Some of the families swear by it. Like a lot of the modern generations just pass it off as fun legends. But at the same time, nobody can explain how these pieces of petrified wood were shaped the way they did and where it came from. Nobody can trace where it came from.
Yeah, cool. Like that. Question for the table. How well known is magic in this world? It sounds like if you do some digging, you can find out about it. How hard do you have to go digging? Obviously, Dante's family has resources to do that digging. If you are someone who doesn't have those sorts of resources, how hard is it to find out that magic exists?
Like definitively, I feel like it should be very hard. But I feel like it's something like if you Google it on the internet, there's like a million sites that some of them have it right, some of them have it wrong. Like, so like everyone can learn about magic, but like people who can actually, who are not already in the magicking world, who like can prove there's magic, it's like very difficult in a very small number.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I kind of like that idea that the the magical world lets the rumors persist because they just get out of hand and wild, and they as many of them are wrong as they are right, so they often lead people in the wrong direction, and like, oh, they can't possibly be magical, they aren't using a wand or whatever, things like that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that's sometimes how the magical community stumbles onto people who maybe need help getting integrated into a magical community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's the number one rumor that's not true about magic that that people still believe anyway, including some people who are in magic world? But like, yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. Due to a recent streaming show having dealt with the satanic panic, I'm tempted to go there, but I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily really want to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that.
Maybe something about like all magic, like magic only happens in like old world Europe, like in Britain and stuff, because that'll tie it in kind of to the British school, and like so all the kind of mundanes and people who don't know, it's like, oh, you know magic is possible, but you have to be in a magical place, and it only is like back in the old world in Europe, and like obviously that very clear like.
Or maybe like even expanding that idea outward a little bit. Maybe it's like there's a belief that magic has to come from like certain bloodlines, like no one can just intuitively learn to use magic, and like that would be really interesting if it's like, oh, if you must have someone in your blood, in your history that's magical, otherwise you wouldn't have any powers.
Yeah,
so
somewhere, yeah,
that like leads into possibilities of people who are like obsessed with like keeping the bloodlines pure and things like that, and that kind of thing, which is like obviously like that's always a strong antagonist for a story like this.
Now
so yeah, it could be like
I think that would be super true of the people like in the magical world, but are we still talking about people who are outside of it? Like what's the rumor like on the fake internet sites about magic?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I might have
Yeah.
misunderstood the assignment.
No, I think you're right. I think that does actually, you're right, because I think my idea conflicts with that because people on those sites would probably be like, here's the things you have to do to make yourself magical.
Yeah. It's like
Drink this garlic juice.
yeah, exactly. With like a crystal fountain in your, and turning on at midnight and like all this weird like.
But then
Yeah.
again, maybe it's like one of those things where, like, when you go on like 23andMe, and it's like you have 4% Neanderthal in you. Like maybe there's someone like maybe there's people selling like scam tests that are like test your blood to see if you have midichlorians
Right.
or whatever.
I so see
Right?
that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I think you can expand the bloodlines idea to include just randos on the internet. If
Okay.
they're like, if you get super deep into researching magic to the point where you're like, I'm pretty sure this is real, then like the last like barrier of entry is like this widely held belief that it's genetic, it's in your blood, you can't access it unless you're a certain kind of person. And like I think I think to some degree the most prevalent rumor about magic that isn't true is that it doesn't exist, so like to some degree we're competing with that all the way down. But yeah, I actually just was like, they're just going to say, well, of course all witches have cats, and you came up with something much more interesting. So but yeah.
Well, that's
Kimmy.
something that's actually true about witches. You were saying that's something that's a rumor that's not true. So that's
Yeah,
what I was
right.
thinking about.
Yeah, there's going to be an all cat episode. Get ready for that.
I'll take
Is
a
it going
lot
to
of
be all the episodes? Because I'm really into that idea.
Right.
Kimmy, have you come up with a character?
Yes, I did. So her name is Melody Inkwood. She, her pronouns. I haven't narrowed down her age. I kind of want to recap because I don't remember what everybody said. But she's going to be the offbeat eccentric. And I think she's from like an old wizarding family, but like kind of the opposite of Riley's character, where they're just like, oh, that family. Like, oh yeah, they're very strange. Like, and just like some of the, they collect weird things, and they're just super like free spirit kind of hippie types of the magical world. And just like, she's very odd and strange, and nobody's surprised by that, except maybe the other students who maybe don't know enough about her family. So she's the one who, like, she walks into class and the teachers are like, oh, Inkwood. Okay.
Where did she grow up before she came here?
I think that's part of it. I think that they kind of travel all over. And I haven't quite thought that through, but I feel like I'm thinking about her. I don't feel like she has like a rooted system. I feel like that's part of like their free spirits. Like they move around and they travel a lot. That's one of the reasons that she's here. They actually were really excited to they don't really like the British school, I think, her family. So like they've almost never sent anybody there. There've been a few like black sheep in our family who've been, like, wanted to like go to the British school, and we're just like, really? Okay, fine. Just don't talk about it, and that sort of thing. And so yeah, I feel like her family like travels a lot, and it's weird for her to be like stuck in one place for school for this many years. Like, it just seems very alien to her to be like, what do you mean? It's the same place the whole time? The whole time the school? Okay. I don't know.
I have my familiar.
Oh, that's a kitty. If you're listening to the podcast, you're missing out on a kitty. But also, this happened in the past. Hi from the past.
Okay. I actually have an idea that I'm going to steal. Okay, so Mithrian in the chat just said the hippie magical family usually homeschools, and I'm actually going to have that be the case. Like, usually we homeschool, but for whatever reason, like, I just like, no, I really want to go to like a real school, like an actual school, like, and have it be that.
I actually, I know you were talking about age, and like, I think there is an argument for, you're 13, you're just starting out. I think there's also an equally compelling argument for like you're 16 or 17, and like you're jumping in at the tail end.
Yeah.
all that. So
Mm.
obviously that's up to you, but I see both ways as being very fascinating.
I see that both ways. What can we recap our ages again real quick?
Yeah.
Riley, what age
Yeah.
was your character?
I think I'm gonna have her be 15. I think 15 seems
15.
right. I like that she's had a couple of years at the British school and now she's at this school, so it's a little bit of a culture shock for her. I like the idea that she's maybe been a little bit tainted by that ideology, even though she's marginalized within it. Like I like her starting at a little bit of a antagonistic point of view that like can we work. There's like a lot of arc there, I think, to play
Nice.
with.
Yeah, Adam, what age was your character?
15
15.
is what I was thinking, but I can adjust
I think that's good.
any direction.
Yeah, no, it's good. And Jay?
Dante is 13. Though, if it is any easier, I mean, I can make Dante a little older
I think that's fine.
and, kind of drop him into the school. I mean, he'd still be a fish out of water.
Do what feels true to you. Like
Okay.
I like the idea of him being 13.
Yeah,
Okay.
it also kind of plays
Thank
into the thought that maybe he's like very advanced, like his
Mm-hmm.
technology and stuff. And then, I think I'm going to go in that case with Emily, your suggestion that she's 16. So she's a little bit older than everyone else she's around, just because she kind of is behind in magical school.
Mm-hmm.
What is the thing that if you are looking for particular magical skill, what does the Inkwood family what are they really good at?
I feel like they, like maybe not like recently, but in our far past, that's one of the reasons I picked like Inkwood is like we're known for like our writing and our scroll work and like magic books and tomes and things like that, and documenting information, which is why everyone is kind of like shocked that we've become kind of so free spirited and like not taking notes on anything, and we homeschool, it's fine. Like it's sort of like the opposite to like our legendary like ancestors. So I think that's part of it, but we still kind of have an innate talent for magic that has to do with like the written word or writing things or composing spells.
I think it would make sense for British and American magic traditions to be closely linked. But what is the thing that is most different about American magic traditions from British magic traditions outside of the fact that American magic is open to trans people for now, apparently?
Can we riff?
Well, we measure ranges in feet instead of meters.
Oh.
This is true.
Hate it. Okay.
We don't use as many U's in our spelling of our spell
Right.
names. We actually cut a lot of the U's out. Like we don't need the extra letters, and we put Z's and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And
we say
here-
Z instead of Z.
Right, and here it is Leviosa.
Well, actually, what if American spellcasting doesn't use Latin roots?
Oh,
Interesting.
I mean, our whole language still does. So I don't know if that would be possible.
Yeah. I mean, just a thought.
Okay.
yeah.
I really
And,
actually like. I'm sort of inspired, Jay, by your character. Like, what if it has something to do with like technology, like some sort of
Oh.
magical integration of like tech and.
Oh, I
stuff?
like that a lot because one thing I was going to say for my character is I feel like she was raised in a mostly magical world and I think like struggles with modern world stuff when she's so I think the fact that she's coming from the British school to this American school that actually is a little more open to technology, I think that would be a really interesting like frustration for her. Is like I'm supposed to be this really powerful witch, but I can't use an iPhone or whatever. Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like the rest of us know what a toaster is and how to operate it.
Yeah.
But you're
why would I use a
what?
toaster? I can just spray my magic and burn it from the toast.
Right,
Like I can just make toast with a wand. Why would I use a machine for it?
So dumb.
It's that moment in Onward where the light bulb gets turned on and then the wizard's like, no, but I have one thing.
Yes.
Somebody's familiar as an iPhone.
Yeah. Right.
Is it? I mean, I'm up in other stuff, but that was just something, especially once Jay talked about his backstory, that kind of like jumped out at me as an idea.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like
One thing-
American magic is more open to various schools of thought, whereas I think British
Yeah.
magic is much more like this is how you do magic.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are
One.
people playing around with magical code and people playing around with using like metal wands instead of wood.
Instead of
Yeah.
wooden wands.
Yeah.
I
And
think-
maybe that's just like the fringe right now. but it's certainly something that, or like it's the fringe right now, but it is actually being played with as opposed to the continental European tradition where they're like, no, we're not playing with that. We're not trying metal wands. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, and it kind of like plays into that like old school kind of like stuffiness about what magic is and who can do magic. As you start to like open up the idea of how magic can be done, you're also opening up who can do magic, and as a result, like that's a threat to the more established order of things. Like on a less like confrontational level, my brain was thinking about how like you could, like, if you go to be a chef, right, like you typically go to like a cuisine type school and you learn like a very specific cuisine and how to do things, whereas like now there's like such a big culture of like fusion dishes where it's like, well, it'll actually take a little bit from this culture, a little bit from this culture, and like make a combined food dish. Like I think that could be a lot of what's happening at, especially at this school versus like the British school, which is like, we have a centuries old way of teaching magic and this is the right way to do it and we're not
Yeah.
gonna budge.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. So y'all have filled in your stats, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me know just really quickly what your D20 stat is, the thing that you are the best at. And why don't we start with you, Riley?
My best stat is fight.
Excellent. Adam.
Mine is grit.
Okay. Jay.
Mine is brains.
Okay. And Kimmy.
Flight.
I'm automatically going to just ignore what the game says. The game says that 14 and younger is underclass student. I'm going to say you are all upper class students. There's only one level of student here because it is a school that everybody, it's the magical equivalent of a one room schoolhouse, except it has many rooms.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just don't see
It's Magisori, like it's a Montessori.
Yes.
There we go.
Sorry.
That's the
The
philosophy.
kids teach themselves magic.
Oh my God. I'm here for the educational little like pun magic jokes. I love it.
Right.
But yes,
Montespelli. No, okay.
Yeah. I like Montespelli. That's funny.
Montesorcery. There we go. Found it.
There you go.
Montessori.
Got it.
Montessori.
Montessori. No.
Yes.
I
Wait,
love
Kimmy, I
it.
have no idea if I'm even accurately describing what Montessori is, so hopefully you know more than I do.
Oh, yeah.
I have like, I only know about it from punchlines.
Oh
so.
no. Yeah. I taught Montessori preschool that's how I paid for college, and then I've actually been touring them recently to send my daughter to preschool. So it's a thing. I could go into a thing, but it has nothing to do with cool magic, and that was a hilarious joke. So good job.
Now, Emily, I have not yet set my where it says like stats and magic. I haven't figured that stuff out yet, so I only have my main.
So the book says upper class students automatically receive the trained in strength for casting magic using a trait of their choice. When rolling stat checks, upper class students add +1 to their fight and brawn checks as they're pugnacious and in their prime, and each upper class student should write their favorite class in the space provided on their character sheet. Also come up with a name for the teacher who teaches that class to share later. This game has a lot of busy work, and you know what? I'm gonna forget about most of it, but it's great. Let's do the busy work. Everyone loves filling in worksheets. That's why we got into this hobby.
I need to find classes because I did not look at classes yet to see what my
know,
favorite class
right?
would be.
Okay, so can you go over the stats again? Because they have the dice number and then there's the stats itself.
Yes.
And that's
So the stat is literally just like you are just putting in the die. So like your best is you just put down 20. Basically, you're just saying this is the die that I roll when I do this. And the die are, you have a D20, which means you're superb at that stat. A D12 is impressive. A D10 is above average. D8 is below average. D6 is bad. And D4 is terrible. So everything is balanced. And therefore, maybe you're really good at brains, but really bad at fight or something like that. So, and it sounds like y'all kind of balance each other out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be in good shape there. Yes. So, again, lots of busy work. Is there anything else on the actual character sheet before we get to the finishing touches? Are things like motivation and all of that. But what I want to do is talk through character relationships before we get to that. But are there any questions about just high level character sheet stuff before we move on to building relationships between people.
Can we do our animal familiars? I like that question.
Sure. Let me. Yeah, sure.
I don't know if there's like a table for that. I just saw the blank, and I think that's exciting.
Um,
Am I going out of order? If I'm going out of order, you can just be like, Kimmy,
you're fine.
no. Okay.
You're fine. I'm trying to make my PDF work. I was like, look at me, I have a Kindle and I can read a PDF on it, and it is not working at all. So yes. So make trope selections for your character: grade, strengths, flaws, familiar, first name. And we've done most of those things. But yeah, let's talk familiars. Tell me who your little animal friends are, and we're gonna go in reverse order. Kimmy, I'm gonna make you start this time.
Yeah. I think she's gonna have a ferret.
Okay.
I don't have a name for my ferret yet. Also, fun trivia fact: that's the animal that I'm most allergic to in the real world, like as me, Kimmy.
Wow. How did you find that out?
I started playing with the ferret one day, had a huge asthma attack, had to go to the emergency room. Super fun.
Aww.
I was like 9, and I was so excited to play with these delightful little animals, which are technically illegal in California, actually. And then
I was gonna
like,
say, yeah.
So I was like, oh, fun! This is so great. Why am I so out of breath? Okay. Oh, mom. Okay, yes.
If you're just joining us late, we are all playing in separate rooms at my enormous mansion. And Kimmy, I regret to inform you, we are in the ferret room.
Oh no!
So maybe you should change location.
Oh
no. How long have you had your ferret familiar?
Probably a really long time. I have to Google how long ferrets live. I have no idea. It's a magical ferret, so it lives a really long time.
It can live as long as we want.
Yeah. So maybe it's like, I think maybe I like found it like on our travels one time while I was being homeschooled. And it was, so I've had it for, we'll say, if I'm 16, I've had it since I was 11, so 5 years.
Okay. How do you communicate with it?
I feel like I just talk to it, and and I feel like I know what it says back, and it kind of like looks at me or like squeaks at me, very like I don't know, like cartoonish, where I'm like, no way she said that, and everyone's like, they don't talk back. It's fine.
I'm gonna let you think about a name for your ferret, and we're gonna move on to Jay.
Okay. I've got a fruit bat named Cheeky. The Filipino word, well, the Tagalog word, the dialect that I speak, the Tagalog word for bat is paniki, and so he's Cheeky Paniki.
It's so cute.
This is good. I assume since you're pretty new to Magic, you haven't had him for very long?
No, not at all. But as soon as I started manifesting magical abilities, there was a tapping at my window. And lo and behold, there was this bat that was desperate to get in. And for some reason, I just knew that bat would be okay.
How do you communicate with Cheeky?
I think I'm in the same school of thought as Melody. So I talk at Cheeky, and Cheeky squeaks back. But Cheeky understands me, and I can intuit sort of what Cheeky says, but I can't figure out, I can't get full details or anything like that.
Okay.
I can get, hey, come over this way, but I can't get, hey, come over this way because your potions teacher is choking on a bad formula.
Adam.
I can't help it. I gotta go with the kitty. I got just a kitty. But I will find a specific kind of kitty. But I'm thinking kind of a small, maybe a small like sort of spotted cat, or maybe just a calico. Yeah, I think maybe just like a standard calico, but on the small side, like it was a runt of the litter. But yeah, in the typical like white, orange, and black.
Tell me tell me a little bit about how you found this cat. Was it like a cat trained for this purpose, or is it like an adorable stray?
I think it's an adorable stray, and that's why I like it. I think, they were talking about how you're going to have to, you're going to get a familiar, you're going to, find an animal companion, and um, and so and so I was walking back from school that first day and found this stray cat, and I was like, well, there's my animal companion. And they're like, no, it has to be a magical familiar. And they're like, well, it is. It found me, so it fits the definition. Therefore, mine.
Cool, cool.
So yeah, and I think I don't know if I think we have a magical bond, but maybe it's just because I feed her bacon bits. So
Did you
yeah.
say the name?
I did not. I did
Okay.
not. I don't have a name yet. I'll come up with a name.
All right. And how do you communicate with your cat?
Um, I think I talk to it, uh, like it's a human who can understand English, and yeah, um, and and I'm pretty certain it's talking to me in my mind. I, you know, I feel like it is okay. This is Adam speaking now. Adam feels like yes, the cat really is my magical familiar. We really do have a bond, but I think I don't. I think because I just do everything magically a little bit differently, that everybody thinks that I just have this regular cat,
Mhm.
that I've trained really well. Um, because yeah, but, I think mostly because the cat doesn't actually do what I tell it to most of the time, but that's just because it's an actual cat. And yeah, so yeah, so they think that I just like have this regular cat that just follows me around, and I pretend it's a familiar, but the cat knows it's a magical familiar, but it's just not playing the game.
A cat that doesn't do what it's told? That's very
Yes,
strange.
I
Uh,
know, right?
Well, it's a
Nice.
magic world, Emily. Some things don't make sense.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. That's true. I appreciate that. Now, um, and finally, Riley, you're familiar.
Daphne has a crow as her familiar,
Okay.
and his name is
Yay.
Merle.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Merle the Crow. How long have you
Yeah.
had Merle? Tell me a little bit about Merle's. I just feel like, does Merle have like a festive little thing that he wears?
Um, she tries to. He doesn't really like to wear. Like she occasionally will try to like bedazzle him a little bit, and he doesn't
Yeah.
seem to like it very much. But like he likes to bring her like the way crows do. Like he likes to bring her little trinkets and stuff like that. But she tries to make him wear it. She doesn't tend to get too excited about it. But
Okay.
and maybe like once in a while she can get a little necklace around him. But
Yeah. How
that's
long
about
have you
it.
had Merle?
I've had Merle for a long time, actually. I've had Merle since I was about 8 or 9. It's a big thing in my family where when we start to finally we start to show our first traces of magical power, we're actually taken out into like a quest, almost like a kind of like way people like take their kids out on their first hunt, but instead of being like an actual like physical like violent hunt, it's a like go find the creature that speaks to you. And usually like we go out to somewhere like on the Scottish moors or somewhere out in nature or somewhere like where they kind of let the witch like follow where she wants to go, but it is typically drawn to nature because it's kind of like, hey, we're tapping into this like ancient source of power. So I think especially if my family's from the British school line of thought, they wouldn't want people finding their familiars in like urban and like populated areas because that's like the new world, and that wouldn't be appropriate. So
Tell me, tell me if you can communicate with this. If you can, and if you know you can communicate with this creature.
I think that she can. She doesn't have full two-way. I think that's actually like a thing you have to buy.
Mhm.
But I think that she definitely can do one-way psychic communication with it, and so she can ask him to do. He can be a little persnickety about it, but he will still do the thing that he's asked to do. He'll
Sure.
call a little bit, but
Okay.
and
So
Merle, by the way, is short for Merlin, just as a point out. I think it's like
Nice.
a
So
little gag.
let me tell you kind of the thoughts I have about the world of this story. Um, and then we're gonna do a quick pause for an ad break for this lovely game, Decima. But so basically, my notion is this is a school in far northern California. There's a town in California called Shelter Cove. And when they were building the highways that run down along the Pacific coast, they were able to get right up along the ocean along the entire coast from British Columbia down to Baja, Mexico. But they had this one stretch in California where the mountains were too high, too close to the shore for them to be able to actually build something effectively. And so the highway skirts around the mountains at that point. You'll see it if you go up in Northern California, you'll see it sort of splits off at a town called Ukiah, and it heads inland. And you can go out to the shore. You have to drive along these long, winding mountain roads, and then you come down in a little like unincorporated town called Shelter Cove, which is basically like super working class, except it also has like a lot of like very rich people who have big houses there. And sort of in my mind, this place appears to be a rundown old mansion that's on this cliff overlooking the sea just outside Shelter Cove. And it is actually, of course, this magic school that's been hidden behind a glamour. But it is famous for being accepting and taking in everyone. And we will dig a little bit more into its history. But first, we need to give it a name. I have not given it a name as of yet. And it does feel to me like the name Shelter Cove has kind of a cool resonance there. So I'm wondering if you all want to think a bit about what it could be named. And also, if you're like, Emily, your idea stinks, cool. We can do something else, but I think I'm great. So tread carefully.
I think that's lovely.
I like it
Personally.
too. I
Yeah.
like taking a real world location and kind of adding
Yeah.
a magical element to it that explains
Yeah.
why a real world thing happened, which is kind of cool.
And at the very least, I love the name of the town.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need a name for the school then. And if anyone has good suggestions,
How old is this school, do you think?
um, that's up to y'all. I think that if you are looking at a school that is built in California before the gold rush, you start looking at the really grim aspects of
Yeah.
colonization. And obviously California is built atop land that did not belong to the vast majority of people who live here now. But I don't know how much this
Yeah.
game is going to dig into that.
I was thinking more like, is it
Yeah.
10 years old? Is it 50
No.
years old? Like I was thinking
My
like, is
idea-
it like
yeah.
a relatively new school?
My idea was that it was kind of part of the it was built as kind of part of the queer migration to Northern California in the 50s and 60s. So
That works.
built
Yeah.
somewhere in that period, like 1958
Yeah.
or something.
I do kind of like that. As there's there's a certain specific kind of history with colonization in schools across this
Yes.
continent. That can really is really not pleasant to think about. And I like the idea that if it's a newer thing, it feels like to me it's less it's less connected to the colonization if it's newer to me.
Yeah.
And
Given that,
you know,
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go
My
ahead.
fault. No,
Go ahead.
I cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry, that was my fault.
You'll learn this about me. Just cut me off because I'm usually going to ramble until I stop talking. Rather
Yeah, but
than
that was just a
actually,
matter of like the delayed time. I didn't. I realized as I started talking, you were still talking. So that's on me.
No worries. But no, I was pretty much done. Yeah, it just if it's that's the thing. Like if you're talking about a school that especially pre-gold rush, you're into the Spanish genocide that happened here. If you're talking after gold rush until until well debatable if it's over, but generally it's not. But the closer you get to the present time, the less you're connected to, or less likely it's connected to actual genocide that's been
Yeah.
happening here. So yeah. So
Going
I
off
would.
of what,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
going off what
Oh,
Emily said about 50s or 60s, I was thinking like maybe
yeah.
it kind of started as almost like a hippie commune, that like a magical hippie commune that like got more codified as like a generation or two went on. So like maybe in the like 50s or 60s, it was almost like a bunch of like the magical equivalent of like essentially the homeschooling of like Kimmy's character's family type thing, but like enough of them got together and were like, hey, we all know a lot about magic and we know like pretty like we have a better school of thought than maybe because maybe even like in America, maybe on the East Coast, there might even be like maybe a more upper class vibe of magic.
Yeah.
But like once you go out more west, it's more of a hippie like, and then like has like maybe codified into something that's a little bit more of an established school since then.
Yeah. Can I offer a suggestion that Kimmy? Oh, and Kimmy, you're muted, by the way. So, um, but I'm wondering if maybe in the like middle of the 20th century, a bunch of Inkwoods came over here and started the school to be a sort of Montessori hippie school, and then it quickly attracted so many yuppies that they were like, no, we don't do this school anymore, and until you came along.
I like that.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like my aunt or somebody who's like still kind of in. I don't know. I don't know if you got that far, Emily, to like make faculty for the school, but like maybe I'm like distantly related to like the whoever's in charge, the principal, and then like. Yeah, maybe I'll think about that. Maybe there's something where like
Ooh,
my
I like
family
that.
my family used to be really big in it, and then there was like a falling out over some sort of curriculum dispute. And so like my family took off, and then like I'm like it's like my grandparent or great aunt or something who's in charge of it, and then like here I come back from like the redneck side of the family. Hey,
That makes sense too, because then if you're like, I want to go to school, like, okay, if you're gonna go to school, at least go to where your grandma.
You have to go
is,
here,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Go home, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know.
It's
Just
like
check.
what?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just checking. Shelter Cove has existed as a town called Shelter Cove since the 1890s, so we have a lot of space to play with there. Another thing I just sort of didn't work in is that the mountains around Shelter Cove, said to have a lot of Bigfoot sightings. So if that does anything for you,
Yeah.
and B, there's just like a lot of like groups that have their secluded retreats up there. There's a couple monasteries up there. There's a couple of corporate retreats. So it feels to me like, yeah, that we gotta like that if the idea is there's already these things happening, then like people are probably the folks, the Inkwood family's probably like, oh, we could set up a little magic school here. So
maybe they took over an old monastery and like converted that into the magic school. Like maybe like whatever monks were there kind of moved on or moved into a different facility and left this building behind, and it kind of got like upgraded into a magic school.
Yeah, it was like a big dormitory of some sort.
Now I want to call it the Bigfoot School, but I think
or like the Skunk Ape School or Skunk Ape Lodge or something like that. The Inkwood Skunk Ape Lodge.
Bigfoot Lodge. Wait, no, that's a restaurant. That's a bar. Never mind.
What if we called it like, okay, and I don't want to, maybe it like I can change my last name so that maybe like my family after the split like changed their name, and maybe it's like the Inkwood School or something. I don't know. That seems
cool. I like that.
That sounds very selfish coming from me. I apologize.
I like the idea that it is named after your character. You have that name, and everyone's like, "Oh, so you must be," and you're like, "No." People like the characters who are just meeting you and just like Dante would be like, "Oh, you must be very important,"
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Dante is the withdrawn bookworm too, and if your family is known for documenting and for their wordsmithing and calligraphy, Dante that'll certainly catch my attention.
Right. And then here I am like behind on everything, like not able to do the basic spells even like the new magical people can do, and it's going to be awkward and amazing.
It's a nice dichotomy from your character to my character too, because your character is at the school that has things named after her and she can't stand it.
Yeah.
My character is not allowed to go to the school that has things named after her. Like it's a really interesting, like for like these two competing ideas, these two old wizarding schools, but we also literal wizarding schools have a weird conflict with our families too, which is really fun.
Yeah. I think she really wants to go, but she really does not want to be like the one that like everyone's like, oh, the name. And you're like, no, not the name. No. I like class though. Okay. So.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say it was founded in 1962, part of sort of the early hippie movements in California, but also overlapped a lot with the queer migration to Northern California. And Jay, who mentioned the skunk ape? It just came up
Oh,
in passing.
that was me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm. Thank you for promoting my podcast, Arden, in which season 1, the skunk ape, is a plot point.
All right.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
I dig it.
No, season 1 of the show is also set in this part of the world because I'm obsessed with this part of the world. So, yeah. So we're gonna play a fun little game called Decima. And
Real quick, Emily, can I toss something else in the mix regarding the school
sure.
name?
Sure.
Just going with the whole idea of Shelter Cove and the fact that this is a welcoming thing, and then Riley, with what you mentioned about it perhaps being an old monastery, what if it's the Inkwood Sanctuary? Or does that sound a little too much like a nature refuge?
Yeah,
that could be the cover story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And also, like, if it's called Inkwood Sanctuary, but maybe people go there, usually just call it Inkwood. Like, no one really gives it a full name. Like, like kind of like we don't say Stanford University every time we say it. We just say Stanford. Or like, that kind of like,
I feel like most of those like educational things that are like kind of hippie, like have really long kind of wild names.
Yeah.
Like the Inkwood Sanctuary for the development
Talented youth.
Yeah, of the inner self or something like that. I don't know. So we'll come up. Maybe we can do that offline is like really nail down. But and then like we would obviously never ever use that whole name.
And it might be like a name that formed before it was a school, but they just never like officially changed the name to make it more like, no, we're an academy or we're a school. Like, so yeah, I think Sanctuary works for that because it was like, oh, this was a hippie retreat that was instructional, whatever. And now I think people just call it Inkwood now. But
Inkwood.
I was also going to throw out maybe the spelling is different than your last name. Like maybe it uses an older spelling, like there's an E at the end, or ink is spelled with a Y or something like that.
Ooh.
So yeah, that might be something we could also play with that offline in the Slack as well.
How about
but maybe like the side of the family that runs a school is a side of the family that was much more on the side of like bookkeeping and keeping records that your family is like broken away from.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like I don't know why I'm affiliating myself, but like I feel like we're kind of like the redneck side of the family, and I say that as someone who's like, my dad currently lives in a trailer in Lake Elsinore, so I can lean into that knowledgeably and without like belittling it. But yeah, what do we think about the Inkwood Sanctuary for Universal Development?
Oh my god, that.
So we're just a cult now, right? We're making a cult.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my god,
People call it ISID.
I sued them when they didn't give me the education that
Right.
Oh, too real.
So I should go somewhere else.
Or it could be
that's definitely
food.
what the British school says about it. I should go anywhere else to learn magic.
Yeah.
I should learn magic from anybody else.
I should think no.
Just to nail this down for myself, I'm going to say this is an old Jesuit monastery, and it has, like, the Jesuits basically in the 50s and 60s, the Jesuits sold a bunch of their stuff off because they were running out of money, and this is one of the things they sold off. But it is in many ways like a modern boarding school. And it has mostly had the Catholicism stripped out of it, but maybe as we build in the locations, we can, say maybe there's still an enormous church bell somewhere. I don't know.
Was this one of the Jesuit sects that made wine?
Yes. I'm just blanket saying that. Yeah.
Kids are always trying to find the old winery,
yes,
they can find like a cask somewhere in some basement. That's like a hazing ritual.
Cool. So there's a wonderful game called Decima, which everybody should go and look at right now. And
now, what's Decima?
Yeah, I'm wondering, I'd like to take a quick ad break and see if we can get the designer of the game to just pop in here and talk a little bit about what Decima is and why it's the R&D for your RPG.
All right, so I made this game called Decima. It is the R&D for your RPG, which actually a guy at my gym thought of. Like, I was describing it to him. He's like, oh, it's like the R&D for an RPG. I was like, I'm taking that. I don't even remember his name honestly. But anyway, it is a tarot deck that has question cards on it, and I didn't really mean to make this an actual ad break, but basically you can create your whole campaign world, and it creates locations, connections between the characters, and then like also the kind of the dynamics of the party in the world, like who their allies are, who their rivals are as a group, and all that stuff. And it's super pretty. Samantha, who's currently in the London Calling AP, did all the art, and she's an amazing artist. It's pretty.
Yeah.
I have misplaced my copy, which
Okay.
means that we're just going to use normal tarot cards.
Yay!
But you can if you buy the PDF version, which I just downloaded on this computer, you can use any tarot deck with it, and it will make your life better. I do this before literally every RPG I play. Often there's a map drawing element. Since we're all on Zoom, I'm not going to add that, but we are going to be answering questions just as soon as Riley gets back. But yeah, it's a wonderful little. It's actually play testing that game is how I met Kimmy.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful story. Actually, it's not. I was in a play test of her game, and we had a nice time.
We had a fantastic time, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to play with this wonderful woman again!" And it was so much fun, and we did. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I think I played a washed up actress named after my wife.
So yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was very fun. It was very early still too, so there was a lot of feedback we got on that. But yeah. I met a lot of amazing people. Actually, I met Riley in person, I think, for the first time running it on Saving Throw show.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I met her too. It just makes bridges between people.
It does.
Stuff. It's beautiful.
Darkama is the great bridge builder. It's the thing that will fix the world.
Real quick before we can continue, I just want to note. And this is just using my quick native internet foo, but Shelter Cove was on the lands traditionally stewarded by the Sinkion people.
Yes.
The Sinkion tribe. I have no familiarity with that tribe, but bless them and thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. I'm gonna start learning about them because it's one of it's one of my obsessions. Whenever I play in the area of a tribe I'm not familiar with, I'm always like, I'm gonna learn about them.
If you find out some cool stuff, please let us know within the game. I think I would appreciate knowing that information as well.
Yeah, I will try. Thanks.
Yeah. So with y'all's permission, I'm going to be drawing cards because I think that will just be easier.
Sure.
But if you don't like the question you get, you can just say, ask me another one. We'll imagine you're tapping an X card. When we're playing in person, we will have an X card. But we're playing over Zoom, which makes it harder to tap a card. So I am going to start with Riley. And this is a relationship question. It is the Six of Wands, right side up. You partnered with blank to do something shady. What was it? One of the other people at the table.
Ooh, that's really interesting. I think I partnered with Melody to try to see if we could find one of those casks of old wine from the Jesuits that used to be there. Even though it would probably be vinegar and disgusting by this point, but we don't know that because we're kids. I think we went on like a quest to try to find bootleg booze, basically.
Yeah, I like that.
Did you find anything?
I think we did not. I think that we tried really hard, but we weren't able to find it. I think it's still an ongoing mission.
Now, did Daphne think that I would have inside info, like being from the family, and like was disappointed in me that I like didn't know anything?
I think she actually thought that you would have booze on you. I think she like thought that like, oh, she's like one of those kind of people that would just happen to have like a stash somewhere. And then like when you didn't actually have it, she was disappointed. So I think both angles were disappointing for her.
Adam, you get the Two of Wands reversed. Question is, you knew blank before joining the group and were jealous of them. Why?
Ooh, uh, I'm gonna go with Melody again, um, because she's from around the area. So I think, um, when we were younger, uh, like our families had met and so our family, like my aunts and uncles who live up in this area, they're maybe acquaintances or nearby community with your family, and just everybody's very like hippy dippy, do your own thing. So they probably, um, well, they're probably swingers, but we don't talk about that. Um, no, just kidding.
Definitely. No, I think they
Yeah,
definitely are. Um,
right, yeah,
what if
but
like
so
what if
yeah.
like okay, I don't think I am particularly from this area, but I probably came back to this area a lot to like see family. So would
Mhm.
that work for your idea still?
I think that's the same. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I'm the same way. Like I my family is from Bakersfield area, and we come up here for visits. So
Hmm.
maybe we were just we came and visited at the same time, and so we've known each other. We knew each other when we were little kids because we would play together a couple of times,
Hmm.
and I think maybe I was jealous of you, if this fits with your identity, but I think I was jealous of you because you were feminine,
Hmm.
in whatever way, you know that, and I think, not still trying to fit into tropes of being male. Tanager was not quite ready to, not quite accepting of his feminine side at that time, and so saw you as like, oh, that's more like what I want to go more in that direction. So
Um,
yeah.
yeah, you talking about this made me think of like a gigantic like magic like. Have you ever seen an Airstream convention where people pull their Airstream trailers to like a small town somewhere and they
Yes.
all just like, yeah, it's like that, but with magicians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very the vibe of I think my part of my side of the Inkwood
Yeah.
family is like, yeah.
Yeah.
it's
And
the
yeah.
California Magical State Fair.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think my aunt and uncle that I would visit up here, like they're also the kind, like they're not magical, but like they understand enough of it that everybody feels comfortable with them, and they
Mhm.
and yeah, and they don't react when weird things happen that have no explanation, and they just roll with it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Uh, Jay, you drew I drew the Knight of Cups for you, right side up. Blank can usually read you like a book, whether you want them to or not.
Ooh. I'm going to say Daphne can.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is about her, but she just has a certain intuition. Maybe it's her upbringing. Maybe maybe it's the fact that she's not from around here either, and so I I just can't quite explain it. But Daphne is able to just peg me whenever.
How do you feel about that?
Um, I feel a little off guard. I still feel, being new to the school, being new to the community, it's. I feel like I need some place, some form of refuge, and if Daphne's around, a little of that gets taken away. I don't see it as anything malicious or whatnot. It's just, it's a little unnamed. It's a little shaking.
Yeah. Daphne, do you feel like you can see right through Dante?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I'm a pretty good reader of people in general. I think I would have like if this was another game system, I feel like I would have a high insight. I think that my family is pretty experienced in like kind of reading the room and knowing like I think charm's my second highest stat after fight, and I think that's like a skill that's cultivated in the 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 Morgaine family. I think it's very much like reading the room, figuring out what people want, trying to like make sure make them feel like they're getting what they want, even if you're actually getting what you want. I think it's that kind of manipulation and that kind of charm is very much part of it. So I think that especially somebody who is not used to this world, I think that she definitely feels like, oh, I can play this kid like a fiddle.
Mm-hmm.
She might not be right about it all the time, but she thinks that she can.
Melody, you got the Six of Cups, one of my favorite cards, everyone. One of my favorite cards. You told Blank about something you left behind. What was it, and why did you leave it?
Oh, I think that I told. I'm sorry, Jay. What's your character's name again?
My character's name is Dante.
Dante. That's what it is. Sorry, I failed to take good notes. I apologize.
No worries.
I think I told Dante about my game system that I left back home that I just adore, and it's
Yakuma?
No, no. But like I think it's probably like an older game like console, like video game system, which is like super strange. Like even for like California magic, like what you spend your time playing video games? Like why when there's like magic? And I think like I felt like a kinship with Dante about like you your family does computers. I love computers. Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I have the coolest. It's called a Sega Genesis. And yeah, so I think it's something
And I know totally about that too. I think,
Yeah.
because I didn't spend as much time in the magic world, I know all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that really helped put me at ease when I first arrived.
Mm-hmm. And even though it was like at the time, like it's a super old system, I probably like found it sitting somewhere. I'm sure you've been very like polite about it, like, oh, that's a good system, or whatever. But I think that's something that I've told you that I wouldn't tell other magical people because it's just like such a strange thing.
I was gonna pitch the Sega Saturn, so I love Sega Genesis.
Yeah, there you go.
Has Melody written Sonic fanfic?
I don't think so, but not just because she probably isn't aware that fanfic is a possibility. Like I feel like she's probably made stories in her head, and if at some point on the internet she discovers it, she's gonna be like, oh my gosh. I feel like she's gonna stumble into like forums that are from like the mid 2000s, like any moment, and she's gonna be like, this is amazing, and then like no one's gonna have been on the board for like 20 years.
I love the Sonic franchise, but like the plot of the most recent games have pretty much been fanfic.
Well, eventually everything goes there.
We are going to loop back out with our location cards. We are starting with the wait, that's the wrong deck. There we go. We're starting with the two of coins reversed. So, Melody, someone has lots of ideas for our location, but might have shady motives. Who is it? And this, I believe, doesn't have to be someone at the table. It can be just
It can be. It's to make an NPC. I feel like there is a magical kind of like school administrator who's like working on creating like a collection of different magical schools in the United States, and they really want to acquire the Inkwood school and make it more formal. Maybe they're linked with the school back east that someone mentioned, that I think Riley had kind of alluded to. And they want to like buy out Inkwood and like make them, more prestigious, and like, oh, you can be a little bit more of a traditional school, and like, and there are people who really want that because they'd love to not have to send their kids to the East Coast for like their traditional school. But then there's a lot of the families who are going to Inkwood. You're like, no, we don't want that. And the Inkwood family doesn't want it. But there's like political and money stuff. I don't know.
No, I like that. Do
Okay.
you want to give that person a name?
Yeah. I'm going to say Marissa. I'm terrible at names. Blanderham.
And you say you're terrible at names.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
You named your character, it became the whole school. What are you talking about? You're
I don't know
terrible
how
at
that
names.
happened. I don't know how that happens.
Marissa Blanderham.
Yes.
Let's see.
Of the New Hampshire Blenderhams.
So is she a teacher? What is her role at the school?
I don't think she's actually like at the school. I think
Okay.
she's like in the wider magical community talking about how they need to elevate the US, magical schools, and like is trying to acquire and then like upgrade or change or more make it more traditional. She's more of like a educational acquisition person or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
She's absolutely like you turn on like a video, like you're watching a video on YouTube and like the ad comes on and there's like high energy synth music and she looks at you and says, "Hi, I'm Marissa Blanderham.
Yeah.
And I'm a Blanderham Educational Imperatives."
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly. That's exactly it. Like the corporate, like educational, like top down,
Yeah.
we'll fix your school bullshit that I hate so much.
Is she like the magical Betsy DeVos? Is that what we're looking at right now?
Oh my God, yes. I hadn't even like
Yeah.
thought of that. I'm thinking about an old boss of mine, like very specific, but yes,
Yeah.
basically like that. Like we'll fix everything and we'll hold teachers accountable and all that stuff. It's just I hate. Also, chat came up with a little detail that I have to make real. So my ferret, I think I'm gonna have to name them Sonic.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think like she's tried to dye Sonic's fur a little bit blue, but so that he's just like this weird brownish with like blue tint a little bit. That's just like, and the ferret's just like, fuck. I don't know. It's my new obsession. So
we're writing our own Sonic fan.
I love it.
Right. And what
This
was-
is me Googling to see if there's a ferret that already exists in the menagerie of Sonic animals, and I think there might be one
I think
called
there is.
Gunther.
Yeah.
Daphne and Jay, can you tell me your familiars again, real quick? Daphne's is a crow named
Merle.
Merle, and then Jay, what was yours?
My bat is named Cheeky.
Oh, Cheeky, CHIKI.
No,
or
no,
is it like
CHEE. You know, like
yeah,
pair of cheeks.
yes, okay, awesome, okay. And mine is the calico cat who still doesn't have a name.
All right. So Dante, you got the 10 of coins right side up. Our location is celebrated for something that happened in the past. What happened?
That's a really fantastic question.
Well, thank you.
You know what? I'm going to say that some generations ago, there was a horrible storm, and the cove was the safest haven for it. And so during that storm, I don't know how large Shelter Cove is, but dozens of ships came in from various walks of life and ended up taking shelter in the cove for a number of days. And the community rose up and housed everyone in the ships, made sure that the ships were all moored. And that is something that's actually celebrated annually. The act that, of all the community coming together to help all of these folks.
Was the protection magical in nature at all? The answer can be no. Shelter Cove is literally named that because the cove is very sheltered. But was this a big enough storm that the magic school?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say that the magic school, or maybe it was actually during the time before it was a magic school and it was just the hippie commune. They actually all came together, but they did their best to hide it from the community that there was magic at work.
Okay. Cool. What's the day commemorating that event called?
Ooh. Okay, see, I'm horrible with names too. Let's call it. Let's call it. Um,
Anchors? Something like anchors?
I love that Anchor Day.
Okay.
Anchor
Oh
Day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, what parts of the ship do I know? Anchors. Ah.
It's the one day when like the like local politicians have to make the trek to Shelter Cove to be like, Happy Anchor
Yeah.
Day,
Oh, and
everybody.
there's like a boat parade that happens along it.
Yeah.
That's the big deal. People kind of flock to it. Tourists will flock to it who know about it for
Yeah,
the
Uh-huh.
annual Anchor Day boat parade.
I love that. So
There are definitely Anchor Baby jokes made about
Ha
Anchor
ha
Day too.
ha.
Like, there's a really
Oh boy.
inappropriate line of
In
thought
both
about it.
well in
Yeah.
yeah, in the both
Yeah.
knowledgeable and less desirable
Yeah.
circles, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tanager, you drew the Knight of Coins right side up. Our location has a major benefit or advantage over other locations like it. What is that benefit?
Uh, I think it's a natural. There is a natural habitat uh, for uh, for several different types of magical creatures nearby. Uh, so yeah, so like uh, yeah, it's almost like on the edge of like a magical creature preserve area, um, and yeah, so there's just a tremendous area of forest where you can find almost every kind of magical creature with in their natural habitat.
Are the
Yeah.
Sasquatch like the nature preserve guardians of that
Uh,
space?
Um, Actually, yeah, I kind of like that. And they're not, and I don't think they're dumb either. I think I don't want them to become like giants at the British school. They are these large, hairy creatures, but they're extraordinarily intelligent and very compassionate, and so they've always been the stewards of the animals, the magical creatures that live around here. So um, yeah.
Yeah. Daphne, you got the Five of Coins reversed. Upset people in our location demand to be heard. Who are they and what do they want?
Ooh, that's really good. Upset people in our location demand to be heard. I think there is because there's such a collection of magic in the area, if we do have established that there is this internet, like almost like a conspiracy theory culture around magic in the world, I think there is a small community. Like there's a kind of like how in our world there are people who make these like treks to like remember a couple years ago when it was a whole like, oh, we're all going to storm the Area 51 and we're going to find out what's behind that gate. we're gonna Naruto run across Area 51.
Yeah.
I think that there's like that kind of a vibe of people know something magical is happening at Shelter Bay, but they don't know exactly what. And so I think there's like a small community of like kind of like podcasters and people doing like pirate radio who are like insisting there is something happening in this area, but they haven't actually found the truth of it yet. And maybe they follow. Maybe there's like constantly a lot of like magicians in the area that are constantly like trying to give them false leads to keep them distracted so they don't find their way to the school because they're like they don't want them threatening the kids that go to the school.
Just to sort of keep it grounded in this area, what do you think about it being like there is a specific like podcast that is stationed in Shelter Cove and they like move there and they were
Yeah.
like, we're going to find out what's up here. All these people are disappearing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like almost anything that happens locally that like isn't immediately explainable, even if it's definitely not magical, they're like, that's magic. These crops dying, that's magical. Like if there's a drought, that's magical. Like that kind of thing. If they go on like a bad date, they're like, oh, they bewitched my date so she wouldn't be attracted to me. Like they're like that level of just like they read everything into it. I gotta think of the name of that podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, name the podcast and what is the name of its host and what is that person like?
Okay. I think the host is definitely I hate to bring this into our world, but I think it's got to be an Alex Jones type of character. It's got to be just someone who maybe even they might even be slightly a charlatan themselves. Like they might be someone who like sells things to their audience of like, this will protect you from magical, from curses and things like that.
Yeah.
But okay, let's see here. I'm trying to think of a good name for that. That's I'm trying to think of like it's what because my thing is my head keeps saying Hexbreakers. That's the name of our show. I'm trying to think of like what they would call like what a I think it's gonna be like something about like reason or account, like someone people believe in like logic and reality and stuff like that, and like bent reality or something like that is the name of the podcast, or like wand smashers or
I feel like I feel like there's maybe a Salem reference in here somehow.
bonfire of the humanity. No,
What if it's cracking the cove?
oh, I do kind of like cracking the cove. Cracking the coven and like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
oh, it's cove like coven crackers or something like that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And like when they write their logo, they make the N like ghostly, so it's like Cove Crackers, but like there's an N for coven.
Yeah.
Like it's like a letter's been added after the font.
Yeah.
What's the name of the host?
The name of the host is
We can name it Heinrich Kramer or Jacob Springer.
Jacob Kramer. Combine the two you gave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the two authors of the Malleus Maleficorum, which in like they wrote, it was like the witch hunting book that caused like the witch hysteria, like just like in the 1600s. So
nice, because I was getting ready to go look at fantasy name generator and just like start like picking an area like, okay, this is here. But yeah, I think combining those two names is perfect then.
Yeah.
The witches are here. All right. So the next thing we do is a group question. And this is the High Priestess reversed. Everyone point to the character in the group they trust the least. That doesn't work very well on Zoom. But I'm just going to quickly go around. Just tell me who you trust the least. And we'll start just to totally mix it up. We'll start with you, Tanager.
I gotta go with Daphne. Sorry, buddy.
No, it's 100% the right answer. Like,
Yeah.
you're fine. She's not a nice person.
Yeah. We'll be friends eventually. It's just gonna be a lot of sneering until then. Yeah.
Dante, who do you trust least?
I'm going to have to go with Daphne as well, because she's called me out in the short time that I've been here. But I mean, I don't want to burn any bridges or anything like that, so I have to skirt around that.
Yeah. Melody, who do you trust least?
I have to think about that for a minute. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Daphne, who do you trust least? If you say yourself, it's fine.
I think it's probably Dante, because I think that Dante is so tech oriented, and that's like the thing Daphne does not really understand is technology. She is very, very reliant on magic, and so this person who has this whole other like way of doing things, it'd be like if somebody in our world met someone who did use all the magic, and you're like, I don't understand a thing you're doing. It's the exact opposite for Daphne, and she's like, I don't. But you just plug this in, you have lights. Like I don't know. Like I mean, she knows how lights work, but you know what I mean. Like that's like someone who uses technology to do things is very foreign and alien to her.
Melody.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with another reason, like another person, but I think it's gonna have to be Daphne. Sorry. And I think
that reason, I'm out.
I think it's not
No,
like
I think yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's like mistrust. I think actually Melody really wants Daphne to like her, but she's just never been like, even though she comes from like this wizarding family that's like known in California, like a legacy family from like the real old world and like all this stuff. It's just like really intimidating to her, and she feels very self-conscious and like not sure what to do around that.
All right, so we're going back to these are relationship cards. So we're going to start this time with Dante, and you have the Seven of Cups reversed. Blank makes you think of things. Let me make sure this is cups. Yes. Blank makes you think of things in a way you never have before. What have you started to question?
You know what? I'm gonna say Tanager makes me think of things differently because of their relationship to magic. I'm gonna say that I thought, uh I I'm gonna say I came from the school of thought that magic was very limited as
Mhm.
far as who could cast it in scope. And so I thought that I was some sort of weird accident.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
seeing other folks cast it, and just feel at home in that, I'm gonna say that that's helping me feel a little more at ease in my own capabilities.
Yeah.
Even though I still feel like I got a lot to prove and
Mhm.
I'm not entirely comfortable with what I've got going on.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm also an outsider to this type of magic, but
Mhm.
in a completely different way than you are. So it not only do we have that similarity that we're both from the outside of this, but we have that, but it's also different it's that difference kind of validates that,
Yeah,
you know, yeah, uh, you're, yeah, that it makes sense that there are other ways to do magic and not just the two different ways of what you do and what they do, but
yeah,
I represent the idea of a whole other kind of way of doing it.
yeah. And I think that actually that has changed how I look at the rest of the world at large, because this has kind of blown open a whole
Mm.
world that I wasn't aware of for most of my life.
Yeah.
And so when I go to non-magical spaces, I think
Mhm.
maybe I'm on alert and looking out for things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also Tanager is just very like very laissez-faire about it all.
Hmm.
Like he knows he's weird and out there in this world as well, but it's like, oh well, whatever. This is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my cat. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
cool.
Melody, you tried to impress Blank and failed. What did you do and how did you fail?
I think that's gonna be Tanager as well. I think that I wanted to. I'm sorry. What were the pronouns for Tanager, Adam?
Any,
Any? Okay.
any and all. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Gender fluid.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that because they were you're first generation, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think because like they were new when they came to the school, I was like, oh, good, somebody I can impress, because like I wasn't feeling like I was impressive at all. And everyone was constantly disappointed because, oh, you're named after the school. Oh, you didn't pass that assignment. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think that they were really excited to like impress someone with their magic ability, and
yeah,
then like just try to do some sort of pretty basic magic spell to
yeah.
impress Tanager, and just completely like muddled it, like just messed it up. And it was like
Yeah.
it was like the
Uh,
equivalent of like making a balloon animal or something, and it
right.
just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
popped and like was weird shaped and just like oh
Oh,
So I think
we're
that's what
we're
it is.
gonna be friends, but now it's not because you're cool, it's because you're uncool and I feel pity.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Did you try to literally make a magic balloon animal? Because I love that.
Yeah, I think something similar to that. Like, I really liked your cat or something. Like,
Uh-huh.
or like I don't know, maybe your cat like kind of chased my ferret for a minute,
Oh, uh-huh.
or the
Yeah.
opposite. Maybe my ferret chased your cat. And so to like apologize, I was like, wait, I can do this. And I like started to make like a magic balloon animal of your cat. And it just ended up
Uh-huh.
like just like a disgrace, like just awful.
Yeah. I come back the next day with like a baggie and it's a hairball mixed with pieces of a balloon.
Yeah.
Like, this is what
Sorry.
happened.
Yeah.
Oh, uh,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, this is a Daphne question. It's a really good Daphne question. Daphne, you helped blank when they were at their lowest. How did you help them?
Oh, that's really good. And it's one of this group, right? It's not a NPC. Okay.
Yeah, it should be one of this group.
Yeah. Um, I think it was Tanager, and I think it was around a time when you were struggling to. I think I see, even though you've established that your view on your gender identity is not like necessarily a trans identity, but it's still not
Hmm.
like cis normative. I
Yeah.
think that like Daphne sees that in you because like that's like a kindred spirit in a way, but like also like even
Hmm.
though it's a different culture, and I think that's kind of how it was. Like I think she sees that you are trying to learn this kind of school of magic that is not your own culture, but it is a school of magic that she knows very well. So I
Hmm.
think that she actually helped you. Like I think at one point you were having a hard time conceptualizing this, maybe a spell you were trying to cast for a certain
Yeah.
class. And I think that maybe she kind of helped you get out, or she helped you maybe filter it through an experience that you could then kind of maybe pick up on and understand it better, and then like maybe
Yeah.
unlocked it in you. Like what? How, I don't want to, because it's your in real life your culture versus my
No.
culture. I don't want to be like, let me tell you how I European splain to
Yeah.
you. So I would like your idea of like what you think. Like, how did I help you to use your own culture and experience to understand a thing that was outside of that culture?
And no, I like that. I kind of like the idea um of I mean you mentioned your Appalachian relatives, and like most rural Choctaws are going to be, not that far different, except everything's a lot funnier. Yeah. um but um but there is, there's a lot of that same kind of similarity of just the difference between like typical American culture, between like rural and urban. So anyway, but like, I think I really kind of picture this moment of them, like, of Daphne finding uh um finding Tanager like nervous to go into the girls' room, and and maybe just kind of like pulling her in and being like, it's you don't have to like, you don't have to pick, basically, and kind of giving her that understanding, like like fitting. It's sort of that idea of like, because you've been able to just kind of come in here and be chill about being confronted with all of this weird new magic, like let yourself feel the same way about how you are in your body and with your gender identity, like you're you're so comfortable with like mixing potions differently. Like, why are you nervous about going into the bathroom? Just come with me and let's do our makeup, you know
Yeah, I
um
like that.
yeah. So, and I think maybe that's probably that kind of kindness is why she uh, uh, like why Tanager is more, more patient with Riley maybe than a lot of
Or
other people
Daphne.
are, or Daphne. I mean, yeah,
No one's patient with Riley.
no, that's right. But yeah, um, yeah, I like that. I like having that bond of like they may not be the type of people who would hang out right now, but there's definitely they're both going through something that's in many ways very similar, and like where Tanager is comfortable, and uh, um, where Tanager is comfortable, Daphne is awkward, and where Daphne is comfortable, Tanager is awkward. You
Yeah,
know?
I feel like we're both coming into this situation with culture shock, but from the exact
Yeah.
opposite sides of things. Like you're coming, like we're both culture shock by the exact same location, but for the exact opposite reasons in
Yeah.
both
Right.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And neither of us got to feel very comfortable wearing a dress at home. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
should wear
Okay.
dresses. They're very
I
lovely.
know.
Especially when
I
it's hot
know.
out. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you wearing
Right.
pants when it's in the
Yeah.
90s?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
yes, and you know
Sundresses.
what? Your gender identity can be anything, and you can wear a dress when it's hot out. I mean,
But
whenever
hey,
you
if,
want,
if
but
it makes you
especially
very
when it's hot out.
uncomfortable, you don't have to either. So
Right.
you should be allowed to
Do
if
whatever
you
you
want to.
want. That's
Yeah.
the message of this podcast.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
program.
No compulsory clothing.
Yeah.
Well, some
So,
compulsory clothing because we live in it.
yeah, please wear clothes. That's another message.
Unless you're at a place where you're not supposed to, and then you're okay with that. I have a power thing happening.
If there's one thing we believe here, it's to follow social cues unless you shouldn't follow them.
Yes.
That's right.
So, Tanager, this is our last
Yes.
relationship question.
Okay.
Blank convinced you to do something risky and you did it. What did you do?
I want to put something here with Dante. It feels a little odd that Dante might convince me to do something risky unless it was a not intentionally risky. Do you have a thought here? Or yeah, go ahead.
If you want to do another question, we can, but I'm interested in this train of thought. So
Yeah. I mean, I would really like for Tanager and Dante to have a have an event that we had together. I feel like I have
Yeah.
a scene in my brain with with both Melody and Daphne. I don't feel like I got that scene with Dante yet.
What if it was?
Even yeah. So
Well, I
maybe
mean, yeah,
yeah.
it would probably. I mean, I think my honestly, where that would come from me would be my lack of knowledge of like limits within the magical world, and so maybe we were in a class or it was after class or we're in a dormitory or something, and I said something along the lines of, wait, what do you mean you can't do this, or like, what do you mean this isn't possible? Like, it's magic,
Yeah.
it's gotta be. And so you're like, okay, I mean, yeah, I suppose it could be, let's try it out. And then boom, something explodes in our face.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of
like either out of you wanting to impress the new kid for some reason, or be like, well, wait a minute, why is that a limit?
Yeah. I would definitely be up for trying something that everybody says, no, you can't actually do this. And is there a specific type of spell maybe that's just really difficult to do? Like, is teleportation difficult in this world, or like time manipulation or something like that? Or
speaking as the GM, time manipulation is very difficult in this world.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah. So maybe maybe we were we were talking, and maybe there was this moment where we were talking about all this weird magic stuff that we had that we're both being exposed to on a daily basis. Like, what the fuck, and we're like, well, obviously, like you can like slow down time around you. Like, obviously you can, like, if you can slow down, I'm like, well, maybe you fly by like manipulating gravity, and you're like, well, if you can manipulate gravity, you can manipulate time. And
yeah, there you go.
You scienced me into trying time manipulation, and I'm like, yeah.
And we did it by dropping a vat of some slimy magical potion out of a window or something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, to say, well, yeah, obviously, for slowing down time, we can slow this thing down, and one of
Right.
us can go down there and be ready to catch it when it kind of comes down from the ground or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I feel like, yeah. Yeah. I like, we decided, we figured out how to do it, and you're going to drop it and slow it down while I try to run down the stairs and speed myself up. And it turned out that that no matter how we did it, and we did it like 12 times, and every single time it like busted on my face. um, and I smelled like stinky goo for like several days.
Oh, there we go.
Or,
There we go.
yeah.
Or either that, or we were doing it outdoors and we accidentally dropped it on one of the rare cryptid creatures that are in the reserve.
Right? Yeah.
And it ended up causing like a certain portion of this population of like, you know, I don't know, turtle slugs to glow green and smell like rotten eggs for about a week, which just caused all sorts of havoc in the school.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually like turtle slugs.
Lovely. I'm writing down turtle slugs.
That's from the Avatar school of,
that's
of magical
fair.
Right?
creation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, more location questions, and we are going to resume with you, Tanager. This is the question here is: someone in our location is in direct competition with you or one of your friends. Who is it? And it's an NPC.
Oh, okay. I think that this um so I think there's do we want a boy or a girl rival or a non-binary rival? I feel like we need, like, I feel like I want a boy rival just to, because men suck. No offense, anyone who's I think sorry, I think that's Jay.
Oh, we totally do. Totally do.
Yeah. Sorry, but boys suck. And so I kind of want a boy rival, but we can maybe or maybe not redeem him. But yeah, his name is Leopold
Nice.
Harrington Cates, and he's
Harrington Case. Okay.
Cates. Cates. It's hyphenated.
Okay.
They're of the New Hampshire Harrington Cateses, not the Baltimore Harrington Cateses.
That's too bad. The Baltimore ones are actually pretty cool, but the New Hampshire ones are pretty
right. Yeah.
Why does he not like you and your friends?
Well, it's actually Daphne that he doesn't like, because he is American old money, and Daphne is this posh British girl. And right, you're posh, right?
Oh, I'm very posh. Yeah.
Yeah. So Daphne is the super posh British girl, and actually, like, the one person who can, like, literally, or well, not figuratively, look down on him. Like he has all of the privilege and power in the world, but he doesn't have, like, he doesn't have a pedigree back to, like, ancient times. And so he's very threatened by Daphne and the fact that she's redefining what it means to be fancy here, and he doesn't like his position at the top of the snob chain being challenged.
I love the idea that someone with the last name Harrington Cates, Daphne's family, would be like, well, they're new money.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. They're new magic.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I love your little charms. It's very cute.
Cute.
Daphne, the next question that you have in the locations is, what event or holiday is celebrated more than any other in our location? And we can have another if you don't have a, if you feel we've already answered
Oh
that
no.
with Anchor Day. It can be a different.
Oh yeah, Anchor Day is pretty solid. Because I love a good holiday in role play, but I think if we already have Anchor Day, then I think we can probably do something different.
Okay, we can invent a new one, or I can give you a different question.
Um,
If I may, I'd suggest maybe a new question. Just
yeah, I think just so we have some
find out
variety.
the
I mean,
world.
we can think of holidays while we're playing, but I think since Anchor Day was
Well,
so
wait, wait a
firmly
minute. What
established.
if Anchor
Oh.
Day is the overall Shelter Cove holiday, but the school itself
Yeah, I was trying to think of like a school
Oh,
holiday. Like
has
okay,
like
I think
yeah.
the
the
school could
big,
have like
you
a
know,
dance
summer
of some
dance or
sort.
something? Yeah, yeah.
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 Um,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that each like solstice and equinox has a associated like dance involved with it, and I think that each one also like kind of harkens to like a different Fey court that and like that that's like the
Oh, yeah.
decorations
Ooh.
for it. So I think that each one like really we haven't really talked yet if our school has houses or not, but like I wonder if like each one owns a different like dance or like
Mm.
it has like it's like maybe a competition each year of like who's going to go the most out for this particular like event. So maybe it's not even houses, but like different school organizations have these different events, or it could even be like types of classes. I don't know, but there could be like so there's an autumn one, there's a spring one, there's a summer one, there's a winter one, and like
Yeah.
it's a really big deal each time. And each event, someone else is in charge of it, and they're all trying to outdo the other ones every time.
There's
Mhm.
eight major feast days in pagan traditions, and
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah, I think there's plenty of room there to play around with.
Mhm.
Daphne, who are you hoping to ask or have ask you to the next dance? It doesn't have to be anyone if that question is not something you're interested in, but I feel like we need more student NPCs. So
Yeah, I think that there's a girl named Caitlin, and I think she's on the other side of the Inkwood family. Like she's the actual side that's like attached to the school, and it's spelled Katelyn, and I think that like as a character who's kind of still a little bit classist and obsessed with status, I think there is kind of that like, well, of course, if I'm gonna date anyone at this school, it should be Caitlin Inkwood, and like that kind of vibe to it. And so I think that like she has like set her sights on her in like a almost like I think there's like a tinge of a sense of like, well, if Caitlin Inkwood would go out with me, then like that would prove that like I'm still really important and I matter a lot. Like I think that's like a thing that's like important to. And I think she's actually. I don't even know. I'm not even sure if she's necessarily someone she actually has a real crush on, or if it's like an ambition thing. Like it's like I need to have this status thing of this person that is right there. And I think it might be even like maybe she's like even competing with the new what was the Kate's what was
Oh, the Harrington
the
Cateses.
Harris and Kate's kid. I think like he and I are both competing for Caitlin Inkwood's attention.
Mm-hmm.
oh, you just gave me a school hot girl that everyone's fighting over to play. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you.
I'm gonna write that name down.
Melody, the next question is, a powerful group supports our location. Who are they and how do they support us?
Can I have a new question?
Yes. Our location occasionally participates in a competitive event. What is that event?
I want another question. Sorry.
Okay. Some people in our location are superstitious. What do they believe brings misfortune?
Oh, okay. I like that one. Let's see. I feel like it's like the wider town and not the school itself. But I feel like they no, you know what? I think it's actually the school itself. I think they feel that like seeing like emblems and stuff from the other magicking schools is not good luck. And I feel like it's something just among the students. Like if someone has like a scarf from the British school or a, Letterman's jacket from the East Coast school or something like that. Like the it's not like an official thing, but like the hippie commune started, like they didn't want that stuff around, so they kind of like built up like this superstition of like, oh no, that's not good luck if like that stuff's around.
Is there another magic school that that Inkwood has a okay relationship with?
Yeah, I think there are a couple like similarly like free spirited schools slash communes slash like educational collectives in the United States. I think that Inkwood is like the most developed of them and the only one that like the other schools even acknowledge. But I think that Inkwood gets along more with those other ones well.
Okay, cool.
So we're like brown.
Yeah, I could see us being that. Yeah, we're like, oh, okay, like
The equivalent.
Last question on locations. Dante, our location has a place that you feel is cursed or bad luck. What is it?
I'm going to say that the monastery has an old cupola on the rooftop, Widow's Walk extending out on either side. And I've heard rumors about it, and I myself have, I get the heebie-jeebies when I'm up there. But I have conclusive as far as anything odd or weird happening up there.
You might know this. Is that cupola haunted?
You know what? Actually, let me take this in a different. Okay. I'm going to say that I have seen things up there that I cannot explain. I've seen lights, maybe even lights forming a figure, but I haven't expressed that to anybody because it might just be magic. And I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about.
That is cool. Okay. And our second and last group question is the chariot reversed. So together, the four of you failed to reach an important milestone or goal. Why did you fail?
Maybe we were in charge of one of those dances and it wasn't very well executed because we couldn't get on the same page about it. Like we were all coming from different points of view and we never quite learned how to mesh well together. So the dance was just kind of like a big CF of like, this doesn't quite go with this. This is not the right vibe for this or something like that.
I'm cool with that, but I want to try and push it a little further. Like what made it truly epically bad or maybe even like magically irresponsible?
Or I'm also open to doing something so we're not just using the thing we already established. Like maybe we want to build something brand new for this too. That's also...
What if we were like in charge of like welcoming the new arrival class? And it was something like sort of like what Riley was saying about like we were in charge of like planning this welcome event but like we not only did we do a bad job of it, but we like gave them like purposefully or not purposefully, like who knows, like we gave them like maps that were wrong, so they had no idea where they were going. Yeah. We like wanted to show off, so we taught them a spell that was like way out of order, so now all these younger kids know this fairly dangerous spell.
Yeah,
and like
they got all the wrong. We mixed up the welcome envelopes, and everybody went to the wrong dormitories or like rooms, and that ended up, the administration ended up having to like rearrange everybody, and that was just a headache for the staff.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
the resident, what are they?
Yeah.
The
The
floor residents or whatever they
There's
are.
a rumor that at
RAs?
least one first year has not been found yet. Like,
Yeah.
like doesn't mean that they haven't been, but we've been like that's the rumor the
Yeah.
kids are circulating. Is like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a kid that no one's found yet.
Yeah, they don't know where they are. I definitely think that there's supposed to be like this little spell you teach people who first arrive as like a magical, like, congratulations, you're here at school.
Right. Yeah.
And we thought it was boring or something. So we were like, let's make up our own spell for them to do or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think that's important too, because I think we need to have like something that not just like we messed up the maps, but like literally now these children are in danger, not like real danger, but like we screwed up so badly. So it's like something that's a little bit unforgivable for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe
we
that
were
welcome
supposed to-
spell that they learn is supposed to be like a key for things, and we didn't realize that, and so we didn't teach them that. Now, like a bunch of kids, like it's like if it was like you get and give them their key card so they can't get into their different rooms, and like so now somebody has to go around to each of those kids and find them and teach them how to do it and like code that spell to them or whatever.
Yeah.
What if it's the opposite, and kids ended up learning how to get into other people's
Oh my
common
gosh.
spaces.
Cool, I like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of like their key code, we accidentally gave them like the skeleton key
Yeah,
code. So now they
yeah.
can
And
all get
then-
in everywhere.
Yeah, and then they still have to get their own. So
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah. Now everybody has to be on. All of the staff have to be diligent and make sure nobody's going into anybody's spaces inappropriately.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they have to
Yeah,
lock
I
all their
like that.
stuff. Yeah, that's
Oh,
really
boy.
good.
Oh boy.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that.
Oh man.
So returning to the character creation sheet, as you can see, there's a lot of nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
You get to make your wand, you get to pick your broom, you get to do all
Yeah.
this stuff. I think we're going to do a lot of that off mic because it
Mhm.
is, there's a lot of information in the book, and I don't want it to be sitting here and reading the people
Mhm.
that information. If it becomes germane in play, we may stop to explain it. But yeah, I would prefer the four of you do that in your own time and just sort of I don't know, DM me the information on Slack.
Mhm.
I do want to do something about with your favorite class and the instructor of that class. So I have that. I want to do that, and then I have a couple other small things I want to do before we break. So who has an idea for their favorite class and who might be the instructor of that class?
Before we do that, can I just ask one question about
Sure.
what we just talked about, the brooms and the wands? As I'm not sure yet about building character sheets for the system. So just so we know, so when we break to do our own thing, like let's say like if we take a broom and you get a +1 to these checks when you're flying, like where do I add? Do I just put a +1 on like where it says stats, or do I put it under magic?
So for that, there are times when you'll be making stat checks that are not magical, and you put stat bonuses. Like for example, as upper class people, we get +1 to fight and brawn in stat checks. So you would put +1 in that space.
But not if we're spell casting with fight.
But
Okay.
for the brooms and the wands, the bonuses they give you are for casting spells, and so you would put that on
in the magic
the
box.
magic portion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That makes more sense now. Okay. Thank you, because that was like
What does that
two
mean?
different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Now I
yeah,
get it.
totally.
Cool.
It is
Yeah.
annoying. I love this game, but it's annoying.
I'm sure once I actually go through and like read a lot of the
Yeah.
sections, now I'll understand. I was waiting. I was waiting until we built the world a bit more, and I understood where people were before I started filling this kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
It's interesting because it's still pretty rules light, but it is certainly crunchier than Kids on Bikes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like-
I only played a one shot of it, and it was the GM basically had a spreadsheet with all the different with all kinds of different to calculate all the magic rolls and all that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think rules heavy or crunchy can be easier than rules light, because crunchy it's like it makes sense where everything goes. Whereas when it's rules light, you're like, wait, so where does this go? What is this
Yeah.
plus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, we played it without hardly rolling anything, and it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, my preference is always that I just, we just figure everything out by talking it out.
Yeah, no worries.
I think there were, I occasionally, if you just tell me an idea that delights me, I might just let you do it. That's the kind of person I am. Yeah. So, instructors of classes,
Oh,
and if anyone has ideas in those regards, please
yeah,
let me know.
I've got one. So I'm going to say that Dante's favorite class is advanced broom handling,
Hmm.
comma stunts. So, and that is being taught by Kaoru Hamamichi, who go nickname Zippers or Professor Zippers. And I'm going to post that in the chat. Um, Professor Hamamichi was a famous Japanese broom racer until an accident took them out of the professional racing circuit, and now they teach at our school.
Nice.
And that's they them pronouns.
Yes, they them.
Okay. Who else has a class they are interested in?
I think it's probably fairly obvious that I think that Daphne's favorite class or most focused class is Transfiguration.
Okay.
I think that she's a little bit like really focused on like trying to unlock the magic that will let her just change her body permanently. So I think like she's really focused on that. And I think the professor is Professor Trivell, Trivell. I think it's going to be she, her, and I haven't really figured out who the professor, what she's like yet. But I think she's. I mean, I'm imagining her being someone who's trying to think of like what type of teacher she would be.
Is she that like that just kind of like there's always that one teacher that is just, you know, pretty and smart, and then you talk to them and you find out they excelled at everything that they did, and they're just almost like too good to be true, but somehow they are because they're just that good. like like ours was Miss Lindley. She was the journalism teacher, and she was just so clever and intelligent and kind to everybody, but also just wickedly like wicked sense of humor in just the right way. And anyway, but yeah, I don't know
I
if you
think
like that trope.
I think kind of going a little bit off of what you just said, like you saying your teacher. I just realized like I remember my favorite teacher in high school was my English teacher, Mrs. Mallory, and she was like really like she was like someone who really made me think outside the box on a lot of things. Like she's like the first person that taught me that film could be literature and like how
Mm.
like watching certain movies could be read with like a critical eye the same way you would a book that you read. And she was like the first teacher that really taught me how to like really analyze the structure of literature as a thing that like you could like really get a lot of lessons. Like it used to just be like we would read a book and then we would give them like a worksheet, like what was the author saying? And they were saying like it was all like we like up until a certain point, studying literature was always almost like studying facts. Like it was always like these are the exact lessons to learn from it. This is exactly what the author meant, and we all know this. Whereas she was the one who first like let me understand like there are different critical ways to look at things, and there are different ways that you can interpret something, or authors can speak in metaphor and can be interpreted in multiple ways, and that's like part of the fluidity of literature. And I wonder if Transfiguration Professor would be very similar to that. In like there are lots of ways of looking at the physical world, and here like I think like a science teacher would be like this is the exact fact we've science has studied this thing and this is how you do it, whereas someone whose job is the opposite of like any object can be a different object would probably have a lot more of that kind of vibe of looking at things out, because like it should be like what are the things about this object that would make it like how do you turn this straw into gold, like what are the details of it that would switch it. So I think I might be thinking more she might be more of like the original like hippie-ish kind of people that would have been like
Yeah,
part of the school originally and had that kind of vibe for it, like really inviting people to think outside the box and be
yeah,
embracing an element of it.
Yeah.
that's fun.
And I got there because of what you said about like I had a teacher like this. I'm like, wait, I had a teacher who I think is
Right,
perfect for
yeah.
this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can her first name be Emily?
Yes. Emily Travell.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Emily Travell.
I like that you've basically you made you the coolest teacher at the school and also the girl at the school that everybody wants to like.
Yep.
you let me play. I get to play the cool kids. Like that's
Right?
the thing I get to do now. It's great.
I mean, I'm
Who else has a class? Either Kimmy or Adam. Class
Do you have
slash professor.
Do you have one,
I
Kimmy?
have an idea. I feel like there's a mundane studies class, which is like
Oh,
generic, like English and reading and how to have a bank account in the regular world, and like just all how to get your driver's license, and
it's all one class.
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot. They don't go in depth over anything, but it's just like just all
Not
this
just public school, so
yeah, exactly. So you're gonna need to like all the basic stuff you need to like sort of know to like pass in society as like non-magical if you're gonna like go to the movies and stuff. And I think that's taught by Annabelle Appleton.
Mhm.
And I think that's Melody's favorite class. Like she just loves like poetry and like writing things and like all these non-magical things because I think she's not good at the magical classes. So this is one class where she feels like she can keep up with everything because it doesn't require any magical ability.
This is a question you can reject. Is Annabelle non-magical and have no real idea what she's doing? Like she's been told some other thing, like she's, yeah.
I feel like that's amazing, and I can't say no to that idea.
Okay. All right. Great. Yeah. Annabelle's just like an English teacher who every once in a while is like, I gotta go teach these kids at this weird school
Yeah.
about how to get a driver's license.
And it's just like, what
Uh,
curriculum do you want me to use? Like, what? Okay, I'm teaching driving today, and how to use an ATM machine? What? Okay, like it's very weird, and she's like, I don't know. Yeah.
Adam.
yeah. Okay. Tanager's favorite class and favorite teacher is Defense Against Malicious Magic.
Mm.
And this is taught by Professor Wendell Parker, who I'm picturing as Jonathan Majors. Yeah, so Jonathan Majors he was in Lovecraft Country, and he's Kang in Marvel. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think I think he's just that kind of stoic, like rock solid guy that just like like he's just very matter of fact about everything, and I think Tanager loves that because like he just says things as they are, and um, they're super happy to just have somebody be really direct about all this stuff, especially when it's dumb. And he's like, I don't know why this works, but it does. This is what you do. like, and I think I think she just sees him as this pillar of calm and coolness in this crazy weird world that she's experiencing. Yeah.
I'm just going to say that Inkwood is famous for its famously long tenured defense against malicious magic professors who are there. The shortest term was someone was there for 15 years and then they just retired peacefully. It was very
right. Yes.
because they're actually really good at defending against dark arts, and so they don't replace them very often.
Yeah.
So Professor Parker's been there like 10 years. So
right. Yeah. And and everybody just assumes he's going to be around for another 30 probably.
Yeah. All right. We are running out of time, so I want to do two quick short things. We didn't do a thing where you described yourself, and I often find that kind of limiting. So what I want to do is tell me when a person looks at you, what's the first thing they notice? It can be a vibe, it can be the color of your eyes, it can be what you're wearing. What's the first thing they notice? And I'm going to start with Daphne.
I think she has very, very very dark black hair. Like it is almost like it almost feels like someone dyed it black. Like it's that level of black. Like it is her natural color, but it does not look like it. It's almost like and it's like this just it draws your eyes almost immediately. It's like a black hole, just the gravity of your eyes to it.
Tanager.
Hmm. I think just no frills. Expression, uh, clothing, everything, just no frills. I mean, just almost exclusively just a baggy t-shirt and jeans. You know, like a plain denim jacket when a jacket is required, and like, um, and his hair is always, always like just super long and usually free. It, uh, but yeah, just yeah, no makeup, but still just like, yeah, everything is just unassuming in so many ways.
Great. Dante.
Um,
Oh, but Tanager's super hot though. No frills, super hot. Yeah,
Daphne's
so
really hot, also. Just as
gotta be, yeah, it's gotta be clear. So
she's a hottie descendant. So
right,
in contrast to that, Dante is very unassuming. Dante has a head of scruffy black hair. Uh, he's about my skin tone, but I'd say that when people first see Dante, they notice dark freckles on his face, which is actually kind of uncommon.
hmm.
And Melody.
I think she has badly dyed, like bright blue hair because she loves Sonic, but she's also terrible at magic, so she has to actually like really dye her hair, and she's just not very good at it. So I think that's what it is. It's just like not well done and like weird, messed up, but it's like bright, like crayon blue, depending on how faded it is, because she has to do it for real.
The final question is this is an Emily special. The Hexbreakers are one of the most famous like legends in magic world across the world. What is one thing you've heard about them that you think might be true? And you can decide whatever that is. I think that there are many different legends about the Hexbreakers. So I will start with Adam, because I don't think I've started with you yet tonight.
And we don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but you haven't told us anything about what hex breakers are yet, right?
No, I will
No.
tell you that there are many legends about them. I can give you just sort of a direction to head in if you want, but yeah,
I would love that if you would. Yeah.
they are famous for time magic.
Ooh, okay. All right. Okay. I think the thing that I've heard about the hex breakers is that every single one of them was born on the Lunar New Year of 1900.
Okay. Dante.
What I've heard is that when you get taken into their ranks, you never leave. Once a hexbreaker, always a hexbreaker, even when you die. And so their leadership is actually composed, and their upper ranks are actually composed of the spirits of dead hexbreakers.
ooh.
Mm.
Oh, is that me? I don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I think I cut
I
out
didn't
for a
get it either.
second.
So
Yeah.
I thought Emily was like really dramatically pausing.
Yeah,
for
me too.
saying
I was like-
something really
Oh
profound.
yeah, no, I
Okay.
think I didn't say it into my microphone enough because I
Okay.
was looking down, scratching notes. Yes, Melody.
Okay. I heard that they were so powerful because they were able to use their time magic and get some and save some really powerful spells from the library at Alexandria.
Mm.
And that's they've got these like super magic spells that like have been lost for ages.
And I want to change my answer to 1900 BC.
Oh.
Oh wow. Okay.
Not that way.
We're
Been around
actually
a long
we're,
time.
we're gonna use the actual term. It's BCE, which is before Common Era, and then Common Era. So that way we're pulling away from the biblical
Yeah.
timestamps
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
The hill
Not like
hill I'm gonna die on as my fourth grade teacher self. Like, no.
I
no,
know,
no.
right? Yeah.
BCE and CE. Come on.
Yeah. It's not AD, it's CE.
Yeah.
Daphne, what have you heard about the Hexbreakers?
I've heard that the Hexbreakers tried to prevent World War One because of all the destruction that happened from it, but they failed because in real life, World War One, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand is like full of like all these coincidences and things that didn't go right.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I always think it's like it sounds like time travelers tried to stop it but never were successful. And so I think that the Hexbreak there's a rumor that the Hexbreakers being time mages, that was like their major attempt to try to alter the course of human history, and every attempt they tried to make just pushed it towards happening more and more. And like each little thing that was like a coincidence was them trying to alter it, and then something else happened for it. So and they actually made the war worse by doing that.
Wow, that's so good.
Mm.
All right. Well, we will be back here next week. Just a reminder to you folks, please send me the things you come up with as you finish filling out your character sheets. But we'll be back with all of you next week to continue to enter the magical, mystical world of the Inkwood Sanctuary for Understanding, for Universal
Development.
Universal something.
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'll get it. It's written
fine.
down. I put my notebook aside. What a bad move by
And that's
on my
Inkwood
part.
with an E at the end, right? That's what we decided on at the
I
school.
think so,
and
yes.
I
the-
think so, yeah.
Yes.
Figure that out.
So Caitlin
Um,
Inkwood has an E on her name. That's cool.
Yeah. Caitlin Inkwood.
I don't.
Just so good. So great. So excited to play her.
I wish I'd given
I'm
her a
gonna-
better magical name.
I'm
than
just
Caitlin.
going to spend the next week thinking about her outfits.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like Caitlin is like chef's like the perfect name.
Yeah.
It's pretty magical if you ask me.
Oh, I think she's very magical.
Especially the spelling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
K-A-T,
Yes.
so as we are wrapping up, why don't y'all tell folks where they can find you and where they can follow your adventures? And let's start with Jay.
Howdy, folks. So once again, I am Jay Africa. You can follow me on Instagram at Transplantation and on Twitter at Jay Africa. You can also follow me on Facebook. Feel free to send me a friend request. My profile is public, and learn about all of my exploits there.
Cool. And Adam.
Hi, I am Adam, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Hoobuk. That's HOOBUK. And you can find me here. I'll be on this show for a while, and also I've been trying. Well, once I'm over COVID, I'll be at the Advice Show again pretty regularly because I love it. And then I'm also, it's not for several months, but I am going to be starting up another online game with another streaming channel. So anyway, seems like it's going to be fun, but I'll give you more info about that eventually. So that's it.
Yeah. Riley.
Hey everybody, I'm Riley Silverman. You can find me on Twitter at Riley J. Silverman, Instagram at Riley Silverman, website RileySilverman.com. I wrote a Star Wars book that is coming out later on this year at the either at the end of August, beginning of September. I'm not sure. I think that they might got pushed back about a week, but it is called Exploring Tatooine, of the Illustrated Guide, and it is a guide to all the cool, fun, and wild adventures that have happened on the planet of Tatooine across all the films, the TV shows, and all the canon books and novels as well, the comics and novels. So it's a bunch of cool events that are all mashed together and really fun illustrations. So I'm really looking forward to that. So check that out on basically wherever you get your books. So go to your favorite bookseller or online, and you can pre-order it, and it would be fantastic for me if you would do that. So I really appreciate it. Your family local bookstore or any online retailer as well. There's actually a really cool shop called bookshop.org, I think, where you can actually order online from your local bookstore, which is cool. You can usually find the bookstore and they get the sale for it. It's great. And then role-playing game-wise, I am the GM for a Doctor Who role-playing game podcast called The Game of Rassilon. We are currently in our 4th season. I started GMing this season. I was the Doctor previously, but I regenerated into a game missy. So I am now running that game, and we just launched our new season recently, so it's a good time to jump on at the start of it.
Kimmy.
Hi, I'm Kimmy. You can find me at Golden Lasso Girl on most social media. I'm also, if you want to like hear my talking specifically about role-playing games, you can find me at Golden Lasso RPGs on social media everywhere. And if you want to find the games that I've written, including Decima, which you saw played here tonight, you can go to goldenlassogames.com, and pretty much every Happy Jacks account I run. So if you need to get in touch with me, it's super easy. So.
I am Emily St. James. I have been your game master. You can find me on Twitter at EmilyBDW. You can find my writing all over the internet, but mostly at Vox. And I have a newsletter at emilybdw.letterdrop.com. And you can listen to the first 2 seasons of my scripted fiction podcast, Arden, at ardenpodcast.com. We won an award one time, so that lets you know it's good, because bad things never win awards. Yeah, that's I will be back here on a near weekly basis playing out this story. I think you're going to have a lot of fun. I think we're going to have some good twists and turns across the next several weeks. So I look forward to seeing everybody back here next week as we explore the world of Hexbreakers. Until then, thank you so much. See y'all.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I...
Bye.